just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Bloke In A Bar, brought to you by Bloke Beer. Get into your local, grab a case of Bloke Beer from your liquor legends, your celebrations. I just found a screw on the desk. I don't know where that's come from because Matty doesn't know how to use tools, so the ghost has been in this studio. But brought to you by Bloke Beer. Get into your local liquor legends, celebrations, IJ Plus Liquor, Bottle-O in Queensland, New South Wales. They stock Bloke Beer. Now, we are back, but someone walked in this morning and he just looks a bit different. I don't know whether he's got a different shirt on. There's something different about him. We'd love to welcome him back. We are so stoked he's joined us. It is the great Hammy. And you let me know, boys, is there something different about Hammy as he swaggers on back onto stage? There he is. Wow.
See you, boys.
You look different.
New glasses?
Your glasses?
Yeah, these are new, actually. Thanks for noticing. Thanks for noticing, Timmy. Good to be back.
Good to be back.
Yeah.
So what's precipitated this change in swagger?
Nothing new, mate. Nothing interesting happening to the West Tigers. Just got big high hopes for the season and particularly 25 season, I think as well. Really looking forward to it.
So you're already looking at 25?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to the future.
So why specifically 25 though?
Oh, nothing massive. I mean, signed a few blokes. I could take or leave them, to be honest. Doesn't really bother me. But
Kerry Hemsley coming back to the club, mate.
that was the big one for me. That's when I decided to grow the hair out. So yeah, exciting times.
Mate, walk us through it. When the news dropped, Luai,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you were sitting by your phone, just having a normal day, as you do.
Yep.
How did it feel?
Hammy, just pull that mic closer.
Yep. I got a bit emotional, Kempy, if I'm
Yep.
honest with you. That's why I've got the shades on today. I promised myself I wouldn't actually cry on the show, but we'll get through it together.
Yeah.
It was emotional. Booked a little getaway for me and the missus just to celebrate things. Mate, we're very excited.
You share your happiness with her.
Absolutely.
You're not a selfish happy guy. You're a sharer.
I live to give, Kempy. Always have. And, mate, it is an exciting time to be a Tigers fan. They've been very active. Shout out to Shane Richardson. Absolutely dominating in the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, you reckon?
He's here for a good time, not a long time, and he's been making some moves, and we're all very excited.
Is there any omenry going on with that specific jersey that you're wearing?
Well, this is actually the 05 jersey when we won.
You just happened to wear that one today.
That's right. So we'll be celebrating 20 years of that premiership when Jerome joins us, which is exciting. And it's a really good opportunity to just reflect on some of the great sponsors the club's had over the years. You know, you've got the JFTA Petrochemical Services there. Where would we have been without them? Waqa noodles as well. You know what they taste like, actually?
What?
Premiership success. So, a lot to be excited about down at Tiger Town.
I mean, it is all coming together. 20 years since you win a premiership, Jerome arrives at the club.
Yep.
There's something about that.
Yeah, and it's not often that players get the opportunity to win 5 premierships in a row. But Jerome's actually going to have that opportunity, which is very exciting as well. So bring it on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, great stuff. The Root, he's here. How you going, brother?
Go on, mate. I came in this morning and Hammy had some Dragon Ball Z on the TV too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Diving in deep.
Yep.
Wow, I like that. I tell you what, your hair does grow quick.
It does.
I swear you did not have that long hair last time I
think
saw
it must be the crisp Tasmanian air.
Yeah.
Just, really brought it out of me.
Timmy, how you going, brother?
I'm good, mate. It's a tough entrance to follow, that one, I'll be honest.
It is. A lot of swagger about you. A lot of swagger. Have you been dabbling in the music and the content that Jerome Luai consumes to kind of feel the vibe of where he's coming from?
Yeah, new year, new me, Kempy. So get used to it, basically. This is me for this year.
Huge anime fan.
Yep.
Love hip-hop and R&B. And also, just quietly, he likes K-pop as well.
Yeah. Well, I've always liked K-pop.
Oh,
so
okay, fair enough.
That's an easy transition for me. But, yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Face the Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. Massive thank you to Sportsbet. Absolute legends over there. Another year with Sportsbet. Very excited. We've got some huge things planned. Let's get straight into it, Hammy.
Yep.
Speak to us. Who has to face the music, mate?
All right. Well, basically what I asked you to do before I left was give me your summer cricket tips. So I wanted your series result, your top run scorer, top wicket taker. We had a Hurricane Sixers game as well. I wanted a top runs, top wickets there. And then we actually had the Pack Rub Boys Derby. We had South Australia taking on India in a T20 as well to bring it home. So those were the games that I wanted you guys to review.
Okay.
Here's how you settled. We're going to do it a little bit differently this time around. And here's basically the results of how we settled for this one. Matty and myself, not the best end of the year for us, 1 point each.
Don't know cricket, that's why.
Denon and Timmy, 2 points. And Guru, recently rebranding to the Cricket Guru. He actually won with 4 points.
4 points.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
let's just have a look at some of the highlights and particularly probably the lowlights of some of the tips heading into the break. So, Kempy, you're all aboard Paddy Cummins top wickets and your beloved South Australia to beat Matty's India in that Packer Up Boys Derby. So that's where you got your 2 points. Probably your biggest clang, you had Sam Haslett to top the runs in the Hurricanes Sixers blockbuster. Sam Haslett hasn't actually been selected for a single game all season. So a bit of a regrettable one.
Well, the selectors need. And how are they going? How are the Sixers going? Not as good as the Heat. Maybe if they selected him, they'd be going all right.
Yeah, well, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? So
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
they should be listening to you.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be listening.
Well, Australia did. Look what happened there.
Yeah. Look at him go. Look at him go from now. Guru, I mean, well, this is just, jaw-dropping stuff here. Australia 3-0. You had Cummins top wickets, 6 to beat the Canes. Dan Hughes to be the top run scorer. He made 60 as well. So the Cricket Guru coming to all reputable and some dodgy podcast platforms later this year. Timmy, you had just the 3-0 result and the 6s to beat the Canes. You said Marnus would top the run scoring. Your exact quote was to make a truckload of runs. He had a pretty ordinary series. So,
I think there's only one. We won 3-0, but there's only 1 ton, wasn't there, in the series?
there was little Davey Warner
Yeah.
from the Mascot Housing Commissions, leaving us on a blockbuster. Matty, you had 3-0 for the series, so good start, and that was the only one you got right. So pretty quiet week of tipping.
And it might have been like the most obvious tip in the history of Face of Music.
Yeah, it was. The only thing surer was Matty tipping his beloved India to win the Derby, which they lost. And then, look, pretty quiet one from me. I just backed in Kempy, South Australia in the Derby. That was my 1 point, and that was basically it. So that is how you settled, boys. Well done to you, Guru. Looking forward to a big season of the Cricket Guru. And we're going to do some tips for the next test match. And also, I know you think Guru's cricket tips are good. Wait till you hear his tennis tips coming up a little bit later in the show as well from the tennis guru.
That is Face of Music, brought to you by Sportsbet. A massive thank you to Sportsbet as always. If you're going to have a punt, you do it with Sportsbet, but make sure to gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Ronald Volkman situation at the Dragons. Holy moly. Just when rugby league, you think it can't give any more, it does. It does. So basically, the situation is this. He arrives at training. He is in a yellow bib, so they know that he has an injury of some sort. Then he is, I guess, his contract isn't registered yet. He goes on the training field. He trains. The medical comes back that he needs a shoulder reconstruction. Now, I would advise everyone to go and read a great article by Andrew Webster on the Sydney Morning Herald because he actually goes through a lot of pretty much like basically what happened. So the Dragons believe the Warriors medical report on January 2nd was misleading. This is just broad strokes. Go and read the article, guys. It's a great article. In conclusion, this is the Warriors medical report. It says, medical-wise, he is managing chronic sinus inflammation and has been doing well with his current resume. And basically, he took the training field on January 4th, wearing a yellow shirt. Dragons medical staff instantly saw there was a problem because he was struggling to pass the ball. When the physiotherapist felt his right shoulder, it felt like chocolate in quotations marks, according to one official, It felt like chocolate according to one official. Volkman underwent scans Jan 5th, and when the results returned Monday, it was revealed 2 screws in his right shoulder had been displaced. The report states that Volkman was suffered a contact injury on December 12th last year. Now, the Dragons' statement is basically that they've come out and said, while football can be unpredictable, we must forge ahead. Our sincere wishes for Ronald's swift recovery and success in the upcoming chapters of his career. And basically, they've terminated his contract because he deserves he needs a shoulder reconstruction. The Warriors have come out and said that's due diligence I would have thought a club would take before agreeing to sign someone. We agreed with Ronald Volkman's management that he'd be released immediately. We contributed financially to his release, and it was up to his management to negotiate a contract with another club. Whatever the conditions were for him to go to another club is irrelevant to us. Since that release, it was noted that he trained with them. On top of that, his management signed a release, and I think it's like a notice of release with the Warriors before, like last year, but a contract with the Dragons hadn't been registered since then. So basically, Volkman was training with the Dragons with no contract. Okay, with all of that information out of the way, Guru, give me your thoughts, mate.
What a shit show.
Absolute shit show.
And, you know, I just got a heap more context, and I think it makes less sense now. I don't understand how this is all played out, and I don't know. I don't know where it leaves Ronald now, because I believe he had 2 years left on his Warriors deal.
Yeah.
Went to the Dragons for a 1 year deal. They've now said that he's not going to play footy this year. I don't know where this leaves Ronald. Full stop. I don't.
Well, I guess the positive is he got paid out some of that money from the Warriors, so he's got at least probably some coin to get through this year, I'd assume, if he doesn't have to pay for the friggin' the reconstruction.
I just like, if he arrived there at training and all the medicals weren't done yet, why is he out there training? Why has he got a bib on? And then, you know, they're saying there that they realised straight away something wasn't right. They had social media reels made 2 days after he was there, putting it up in lights that he'd arrived at the club. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Look, everyone involved, I think, has done something, you know, amateurish. But just focusing on the Dragons, I hate to bring it back to what we've been speaking about for probably the last year, but surely you wonder why Ben Hunt has issues. You know, we spoke about it at the time. The way that club is being run at the moment is simply not up to scratch. It is not good enough. To bring a player over and have such an obvious injury that an official was quoted, it felt like chocolate. He couldn't even pass the ball. So you're going to let him on the field, you're going to let him train without a contract being registered, without doing the medical. You're going to sign, agree to terms without any of that kind of stuff. It's outrageous. And even if the Dragons want to say it's the Warriors' fault, it's the management's fault, they still have handled this absolutely terribly.
If you gave me all that context and you blanked out every time it says Dragons there and said, guess which team this is, wouldn't take me more than 2 guesses. Outside of now that Shane Richardson's arrived, obviously. But, like, once again, would this happen at Penrith? Would this happen at Melbourne? I highly doubt.
Well, it's par for the course. You do not announce. Like, for example, we've been hearing whispers about Olam and Blore for a long time now. They didn't announce until everything is done. What I don't get as well, we're not talking about and this is all due respect to Volkman, we're not talking about $1 million signing that we're desperate to get to the club. We're talking about a reserve grade player that's barely played any first grade. Timmy, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, so I think first thing is that we're going on the information that we've been given, as always, so you don't want to point fingers directly at the Dragons or Warriors and say they're wrong or they're right. It's what we know. The first thing that came to mind when I saw this news come out was due diligence. And the Dragons and, the reports are that there wasn't an official medical done or a proper medical done, which is mind-blowing because to my knowledge, every player in the NRL does and should be given a proper medical to see where their body's at.
Well, Tokiaho, there was word that he was going to sign with the Dogs.
Exactly.
They did a medical. Found out there was a foot injury, they didn't sign
but
it.
Every club in world sport does that.
Yeah.
They do medicals before they sign players. So that just seems so far off to me. Even the fact that the Warriors, we literally sat here a week ago and said we were a bit surprised he left the Warriors. We know Harris Tavita's coming back. They do have a few halves options, but we're like, he wouldn't be costing him that much. He's got potentially a big future. Looks like he does. So then the Warriors release him 2 years early, pay part of his contract out. That to me says geez, they can't get rid of him quick enough, which sort of didn't quite add up. They've sort of said that they gave they were as transparent as they could be and gave the right information. Did they? There's a few question marks around that. The whole feeling his shoulder and said it felt like chocolate. Did they not have someone feel his shoulder before they brought him to the club?
Craziness.
Which is mind-blowing.
Craziness.
And then, announcing it via social media before they'd actually signed the contract and had it registered with the NRL. What's going on?
Not only announced it, they had a post to announce it. Then the next day, they made a highlight reel from his first training session.
And then they deleted after this all they deleted it all as if it never happened.
It's just,
It is so strange. And as I said, look, we always say the players are responsible for how they perform on the field. With this example, are you telling me these players have the best environment to be the best they can be when the club's being run like that? Look, even if there is more to come out of the Warriors were the Dragons were completely misled, blah, blah. Let's say that is the facts of the case. Let's assume that. That's irrelevant. It's due diligence on your part. You cannot pass blame to someone else and say, oh, you should have told us this. They're your enemy. You're playing them. yes, you could look at the ethical and moral arguments of like, is it right, is it wrong? We'll get to the Warriors situation, but you, as a professional club, need to take accountability for terrible due diligence. It is bizarre to me. And what disappoints me the most about this is there's a young player right now who has no club. He needs a shoulder reconstruction. He's a fringe player at the moment. He's barely played first grade, and his name's all over the media as the guy that got his contract torn up before he could even get on the field because he had a shoulder injury. I think his management's failed him. I think that the fact that they signed a deed of release or a notice of release or whatever, and then within minutes or, very, very quickly had that next contract registered, I think that's extremely disappointing. Out of all this, the clubs will talk about what they've lost or whatever. The biggest loser is a young man trying to live out his dream, and it's Ronald Volkman. He doesn't know if his shoulder needs we're talking footy players here. They go with broken ribs, broken noses, broken shoulder, but we praise them for doing that. So they don't know what's happening inside their body. They just go, I've got a bit of a bad shoulder, I'll just push through it. It is so disappointing that a young man is being treated like this. And the RLPA cops a lot of crap from fans sometimes about, going too hard for players' rights and being too strong on it. Look at this situation. This is why the RLPA says do not train a player before he is registered. All you got to look to is at the Dragons again, Corey Allen, first day, boom, ACL. If his contract wasn't registered, he's done. It's so disappointing.
Incredible timing of those two injuries.
Yeah,
and the way that's planned out. Yeah. Corey Allen does it. He gets paid for the rest of his contract. Ronald Volkman doesn't have one as it stands.
So disappointing, and I really hope the Dragons administration are taking accountability for this internally. I know externally, and there's all this legal stuff that goes on, and you've got to pass the buck. I really hope there's an internal mini review of how this happened, who made the call, why wasn't it pushed to do a medical correctly. Now, onto the Warriors side of things. I'm still also... Now, the Warriors have come out and said we're going to treat him as if he was still at the club when it comes to his welfare. Their welfare has already reached out to Ronald. But regardless of that, the fact that he was training in a preseason and needed a reco with 2 screws loose, that's not good enough, in my opinion, from Warriors' perspective. That is absolutely not good enough. Apparently, he got an injury on the December the 12th. That is... Look, I'm happy to apologise or be like, I was wrong if they did send him for the correct scans and it just for some bizarre reason didn't show up. But it seems like they didn't send him for scans correctly, or they didn't go far enough to make sure that his shoulder was sweet. Especially, this is the same shoulder that got a reconstruction in 2022. Really disappointing from the Warriors, in my opinion, in the fact that he shouldn't be doing a preseason if he needs a full shoulder reconstruction. And it is the club's responsibility to almost protect the player against himself, because the player might go, no, I'm good, I'm sweet, I can get through it. No. What's best for your career right now, mate? It's not good for us because we need you as a backup. But what's best for your career is you need a shoulder reconstruction. Go and take care of it. Thoughts on the Warriors handling?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. It's sort of... It feels like everyone's dropped the ball. You're just trying to work out who's dropped the ball the most. Yeah. And it's a hot field.
Oh, mate, it's honestly, the mismanagement and incompetence of this whole situation is shocking. Yeah. Timmy, thoughts on the Warriors?
Well, you mentioned that there was an aggravation of the injury December 12.
According to the report by Webster.
And then he just gets backdoored. Seemingly, it all happens very quick. Gets moved out of the club to go to the Dragons. The report says that there's a bit of a niggle or whatever it is in his shoulder, but he's training as per normal. Did the Warriors really not know that there was more damage done to this, hence why they try and get a promising talent out of the club straight away? Maybe they didn't, but it seems a bit too convenient.
Even if you go, no, they didn't know, that's still not good management. It's a serious injury.
Not worked that out.
Yeah, how do you not find that out? Dragons noticed initially he can barely pass the ball, but he's been training in rehab, probably in rehab with the Warriors, and they didn't go and get scans. What do you reckon?
Yeah, the first thing is it's nice that something that's been managed so poorly is nothing to do with my club for once. That's the one piece of positive news I'm taking away from it. But It does smell funny. Timmy's spot on. I think that it happened so quickly. They were so keen to get rid of him, and he's kind of wound up at the Dragons. But I just feel so bad for him that he's got to go through this all now without a club. I know you said that the Warriors' welfare have kind of reached out to look after him, but what does that like extend to? Are they going to do his whole rehab and stuff for him, or is it just
I'm not sure. The quote just said, we'll treat him the way if he was still with the club, and our welfare managers have already reached out to him.
Yeah, no, it's just a really messy situation. He had such a good year last year, such a promising player. I just hope that he has looked after properly, and whether it's one of these clubs or another club, finds a spot for him. You know, when he's good to go again.
Yeah.
I'd say as well, something else to consider. As you said, like they were quick to get rid of him. I would say the timing of it lined up with Kurt Capewell signing as well. So I would say they probably had to free up a position or a player there. And I think out of all the players in their squad, when you've got Metcalf, Martin, Esther, all these halves, Ronald probably makes sense realistically. Yeah. I find it interesting. I look at the Dragons right now, and we were sitting here a week ago reading comments from Shane Flanagan about Kyle being a 9. If Ronald was good enough for them to bring to the club, and they were excited about him, to post all this stuff about him, is it not maybe in their best interest to hold on to him for a year? Who's your next best option in the halves?
It's very, like, I'm surprised that, you know, and look, I understand like the Roosters have a luxury of this and the big clubs have a luxury of this, but it's not unheard of where something like this happens and they go, you know what, mate, you are our future. We believe in you. We'll give you an extra year on top of, like, so we'll give you another year, rehab at the club, and then, whereas I agree with you, it feels kind of like he was almost brought to the club where they weren't confident that he was the future for them. You know what I mean? Like they weren't fully locked in, like this guy could be a long-term. It was more just, we'll just get him here, see how he goes, and then if he's not what we want, we'll flick him.
Like it's almost like, optically, it probably would have come across better if the Dragons put their arm around him and go, oh, he's the direction for the future. But now it just opens up a huge bag of worms of what was going on there.
So remarkable how quickly things changed in the space of a week. We sat here a week ago and we were saying, all right, who partners Ben Hunt in the halves? They want to play Kyle Flanagan at number 9 this season. You know, obviously Amone's not available. They've lost Sullivan to the Tigers. So we're going Ronald Volkman, who's struggling to get picked in first grade in the past 12 months, 24 months. He's now gone. So it now looks like they've got someone like Paul Turner who could come in. Maybe they go Kyle Flanagan back into the halves, probably the most obvious choice. They're in a tough spot now.
Yeah.
It was already question marks around it. Now it's like, well,
crazy tough spot.
So light on.
It's just...
God forbid Ben Hunt would get injured at all. And then you've got Kyle Flanagan and Paul Turner in your halves.
And that's the other thing as well. Like if Corey Allen got injured on the Tuesday and this happened on the Wednesday, I go, okay, they've already lost one roster spot. Potentially it makes a bit more sense there, but for Allen to then get injured the day after, it's like, it just makes even less sense.
They wanted... Jack Bird said he wanted to play centre this year, which was sort of, we thought, going to push Zach Lomax to fullback. Do they need to play Jack Bird at 5'8" now because they're so short on them, unless they can sign someone?
It's, the whole situation is just mismanagement after mismanagement after mismanagement. And unfortunately, the one that pays the biggest price is the player with the most, the person in all of this with the most to lose and the least experience in life gets impacted the most, which is the most unfair thing. You know, all these people around him are being paid to take care of him. And it might sound, oh, mate, he's 21 years old, he can take care of himself. Yeah, look, he gets paid to play good rugby league. Other people get paid to coach, to administer, to manage a football team. If you're a football manager or you're a recruiter, like that is your job, specifically. And I just think he's been failed left, right and centre. Like, I really disappointing that his contract wasn't registered and that a deed of release was signed before that next contract was literally ready to go. Boom. Like, mismanagement across the board. I think there's not a single person in all this that, outside of, you know, Volkman, that can say, did they handle this? Not even well, satisfactory. Like, not a single person.
Yeah. And so, like I look at your club, for example, the Canberra Raiders, who are short on, you got a lot of young halves at the moment. I just think, if Ronald showed up there and got injured, I think the Raiders probably hold on to him because there's a future there.
Yeah, it's 12 months.
There's not many good halves in rugby league. It's the reality of it. Ronald has got the potential to be one of those guys. If I'm the Dragons, I don't understand why you don't just keep him.
But what surprised me as well is how quickly it came out that he's gone. It's like they didn't even give it a week to sit on and go,
mull the decision.
yeah, let's stop. Let's have a think. What are our options? Can we sign somewhere else? Is there a person on the market? Are they even interested? How much would they want? It was honestly, what was it? He did it on Thursday, was it? Or whatever, whatever day it was. So scans on the 5th. Whatever day it was within 48 hours in the public that he was gone. And it's like, is that really enough time to make a smart, measured decision? Now, look, it may end up being the right decision, but how you got to that decision, the process is ironically reflecting clearly the process of how you brought him to the club. This quick, you just put it this way. Did they need to rush into the decision? Like, was it something that, was there anything putting pressure on them saying that it had to be made immediately?
Do you sit there and go and put him in a development spot, still get some decent money for him for this year? You build him up, you rehab him. First and foremost, you do the right thing by him. Not that you have to. Footy's a business. We know that. Yada, yada, yada. But you keep him in the system and you're preparing for next year.
And also, as you said, the Warriors are paying most of his contract reportedly at the moment. So they're not even paying... Like, how much could they possibly... If the Warriors are paying most of his contract this year, how much could they possibly be paying him? Like, what, 100K?
Yeah.
Like, you telling me it's not worth 100K punt on New South Wales Cups, one of their best halves in the competition last year. It's not worth going, you know what, arm around ya, we'll keep you. Because think of the loyalty they'll get. Like, let's say they did that and Volkman turns into the player we all hope he can be. And then the next contract negotiation comes around and they go, listen, mate, we put your arm around you and had your back. We need you to have our back now, because they do it all the time, and sign for less. You reckon he's going to say no to that? Like, he's going to say, yeah, 100%, 100%. Very, very strange. And I just think at the moment, we're constantly focusing on the Dragons roster and who's going to play where. The biggest concern is administration right now for me. It really is. Like, some of the things that have happened at this club over the last 2 or 3 years is mind-blowing, like genuinely mind-blowing. And what's disappointing about this is this year was supposed to be a fresh start for the Dragons with Flano coming in and we're still seeing these stuff-ups from administration, unfortunately.
And you imagine now someone like Jack Bird is a pretty key member of this playing group, certainly one of the more experienced players in the playing group, who has always been so good, and I don't think he's ever whinged about being moved from centre to bloody fullback to back row, wherever he's gone, middle to the edge. And he's come out and said, Flano's back, I want to play centre, that's my plan. It sounded like they were willing to try and accommodate that. And now it could be, you're actually playing 5'8", mate. You should be going...
And then the other option is Flano's going to play number 6. I personally think he's either an out-and-out 7, or I actually think he did quite well at 9. Then the heat from Flano at 6 coming into this year is going to be unbelievable.
Well, I think that's more likely.
Yeah, I think it's too. I think it is too.
Flano,
I think Flano will be 6.
I think they have to go that way, yeah.
But think about the heat that's going to be on Shane Flanagan and his son. The fact that he's going to be playing 6, so essentially out of position.
Yeah.
And maybe he goes on to kill it at 6. Maybe this whole time he was a 6, whatever. And that'd be great. We would love that story. But the pressure, round 1, is just going to be, whereas if you have a guy like Volkman or Sullivan, it would have been good to have him at the moment. I mean, how good does Sullivan look right now? Looks like friggin' Darren Lockyer.
Yeah.
It'll be better than Lockyer.
So really disappointing. And look, I get that clubs will be pointing fingers publicly, but if this isn't a wake-up call for Dragons internally to go, we need to have a rethink about the way we do it and our processes, then I don't know what is. I seriously don't know what is.
And a thought to the real victim out there, Kempy, all the Supercoach players. Volkman would have got a great little cheapie for us this year.
No, I was never going Volkman, mate. Bad chat. Bad Supercoach chat.
You might have to... I think Flano would look good in your side, Guru.
Might be.
Little smoky. So, yeah, I hope that the Dragons can bounce back from this. I hope this galvanised them. Flanagan has been quoted saying that basically it's not a 5-year plan, it's a 2-year plan at the Dragons at the moment. So within 2 years, they want to be challenging for a premiership. Really interesting comments from Flanagan, because the concerning thing about that is that's like a middle ground between a rebuild and a not a rebuild. You look at the Bulldogs, they have basically fully admitted we are in a rebuild because they almost had to. Now, I really dislike when clubs come out at the start of the season and go, we're here, we're going to play finals footy, blah. They get 10 games in, they go, oh, we're actually in a rebuild. that's excuses. But if you're going into a season saying, no, we are in a rebuild, then you can be like, okay, there's a plan there. I love Flano's confidence, and it will be one of the most incredible turnarounds ever if he goes from where they are now to a premiership threat in 2025. Unfortunately, I don't see it at the moment. Yeah. I do not see that squad being close to the top tier squads within one season.
And is it a wild scenario to suggest that the Dragons could struggle this year? Ben Hunt could potentially want out again at the end of the year. And then they're literally left with Kyle Flanagan, who they signed as a hooker, apparently, as the only half in the club.
Yeah.
A Volkman would come in heaps handy all of a sudden.
He's like 22, 23 by that age, by that year, sorry. Thoughts on the comments in regards to 25, Timmy?
Yeah. I'd give myself a bit of another year leeway on that one. Because he said, I think in the same conversation, he wants to be pushing for finals footy this season. He didn't say expecting to make, he said pushing for, which I kind of like because you don't really want to say, we're going to finish bottom four, but at the same time, you're heaping pressure on yourself. Realistically, the expectation for them is so low this year. If they finished outside the bottom four, I'd be surprised. Pushing for a premiership 2025, you'd want to have a lot of players up your sleeve on the transfer market.
Can you get the exact quote up, please, Manny?
Because I'm not sure that, I don't see him doing anything too much in the next 2 seasons.
And also, that's Benny Hunt's last season as well, because he's not going to re-sign at the club, I'd assume. I'm just trying to get it up here, boys. Okay. Dragons fans have to understand, it's going to be a journey. It's not a long journey. It won't be a 5-year plan, but within 2 years, we'll be back on track. My plan is to get us back on track in 24, but we will have days that are tough. I'm just struggling to see when you look at the plans and the directions and the signings and does Flano plan to make huge signings this year for 25? But when you look at the negotiations that have happened, most big off-contract players have been signed already for 25. The biggest one I can think of is Joey Manu probably, that is still not signed for 25.
I tell you what, if Flano can get them to pushing for a top 8 spot this year, even anywhere around it, and then be playing top 8 next year and pushing anything near a premiership, as a bloke who already has a premiership to his name with Cronulla, he will become one of the most sought after coaches in the NRL because it'd be phenomenal.
It would be absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I will say the positive for the Dragons at the moment, with all this drama or whatever, Flano does deal well in drama. Like when you talk,
it's almost when he's most comfortable.
He loves that shit. Yeah. He loves that shit. So you look at the Sharks and the premiership that they won. Like the dramas the year before, literally some of the biggest dramas the game has ever seen. Arguably the biggest drama the game has ever seen, and he thrived in it. So if you want one man in chaos, it's probably Shane Flanagan. It really probably is Shane Flanagan. So that's a positive for the Dragons, I think, heading into this new period.
What's Shane Flanagan to do for a James Maloney right now?
Oh, jeez. Maybe get him back from the Cowboys.
It's interesting. He's obviously up at the Cowboys. It's interesting that he moved back to Sydney, then went to North Queensland. I wonder if Flano ever reached out to him to have him on the staff or anything.
Yeah.
I think of worse people to have.
Yeah, on the staff. Yeah, because Dean Young's his assistant coach.
Yep.
I think Dean Young could eventually be a really good head coach.
I think so too.
But yeah, so Dragons, unfortunately wasn't the best. As I said, go and read the Andrew Webster article on Sydney Morning Herald, guys. It details everything. I hope the Dragons can galvanise from this because, unfortunately, this is the last thing they needed head into a season. 2 guys go down with injury, essentially, then the drama surrounding it.
Hey, if you think Flano's got what it takes to get him into the 8, $6, the Dragons, to make the 8.
$6? It's not that bad.
The more tantalising prospect for me, though, would be $3.40 for the spoon for them. So.
Oh, wow.
Aren't they, though, we get to the start of every year and just about everyone says Dragons for the spoon. They just never seem to do it.
That's what I mean. That's what we spoke about this last year on the podcast. It's like they just battle their way in.
They battle somehow.
And you're like, the footy, the style of footy they play is definitely not appealing. But then you go and look at their results and they've beaten, the Broncos or something, 26-24 or so, and you're just like, hang on a sec, they're sitting 9th on the ladder right now. So the idea they'd be pushing for finals, even though I don't think so this year, But I don't also think it's a crazy thing to say because they've shown a history of that.
I think early in the year, the first 2 months, they might, exceed expectations. They are a pretty gritty playing unit. As you mentioned, I think Flannel will get in there. He'll galvanise this group. He'll say, look, there's all this adversity against us, stuff them. Let's not listen to it. And they'll tough out some tight wins early on, especially it takes time for attacks to get up and going. It can be a bit clunky. They'll play probably a pretty simple brand of footy. And first 2 months, they might jag a few wins. But the second few injuries start to hit, their depth is very questionable. You can only be up for so long. When people start the season a little quiet and they peak towards the end of the year, they look at the Roosters, who are the masters of it. I think the Dragons will just be so invested and so heavy early on, the wheels could fall off. But I think early on they could surprise a few.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I
agree. It's just their depth. 1 or 2 injuries, and if they get one key injury,
done.
Lose Benny Hunt through Origin period. Good luck when he goes.
Especially now.
In.
Like if they have one injury to that back line, you're sitting there going, geez, Corey Allen's played Origin. Fuck, he would have been here.
I thought the Corey Allen signing was really smart for the Dragons.
It's a good little get. Yeah.
Good little get. Cheap. He's on his last kind of effort playing an NRL. Also, just quickly, been so high on the Warriors, so high, and I like the fact that their welfare officers have reached out to Volkman. I really like that, but I got to say, it's been such a good ride for the Warriors. This is just a little bit of a blemish they didn't need.
Yeah.
And a little reminder that this greatness that they've achieved so far since the turnaround, it doesn't come easy, and I'm sure they know that. But I do think this is a little blemish for the Warriors. It should have been handled better.
They're so interesting, the Warriors.
Yeah,
so interesting.
Okay, and our best wishes to Volkman. Hopefully he got paid out enough money to see him through the year. Hopefully the RLPA can step in some way and maybe pay for the reconstruction, whatever it is. Because this is a young man chasing his dream that's been devastated obviously by the injury. All right, guys, huge announcement. We are kicking off a new segment, the Bounce Back of the Week, brought to you by MOSH. That is right. MOSH has joined as partners to the Bloke podcast. I'm so excited that they're a part of us now. And if this goes well, if you guys get behind it yourselves, it may be a long-term partnership, and that is extremely exciting for us because we always want to have a long-term rather than a lot of short-term. But anyway, let's get into the new segment, the Bounce Back. We're going to do one of the best bounce backs in recent memory. Guys, just quickly, what was your initial? We'll get to the one that we all decided before the show, but what was your initial best bounce back?
My initial thought was probably Justin Hodges in his Origin debut. Probably one of the worst Origin performances we've ever seen. I think he got injured the back end of that game as well, and you just thought, he's just not cut out for this. Fast forward 15 years later, he's became everything I hate about State of Origin football because he was Queensland for so long. So I think it's one of the great bounce backs from Hodger.
Timmy?
Joey 05, mate.
Joey 05?
Couldn't get past it.
I had Benji Marshall, went from the Tigers, went to rugby union, came back, won Celebrity Apprentice. Raised $500,000 for charity, knocked off Daryl McMullen, Amy Shark, Willem Woody, Vince Colosimo. For me, Benji Marshall.
Okay, all right. Look, my bounce back that I absolutely love is the great Cameron Munster in 2020. He wins a premiership. And he indulges beyond belief. So much so, he called the greatest coach of all time and said, can I indulge some more? Can I indulge some more? Bennett said, you are kidding yourself, mate. Get to camp. He goes into camp. He takes one of the worst team photos in the history of team photos. We'll put it up here. It's a shocker, but it's also the best photo ever. He then goes out, plays game one, crucial, he scores that try where he fends Damien Cook, all that good stuff. Game two, so the bounce back hasn't even finished yet. Game two, he gets knocked out. And you go, oh, well, I'm sure he'll have a quiet game three. We didn't even know if he was going to play game three. He got hit with the seasonal flu during camp that Queenslanders seem to get hit with. Comes back game three and has one of the greatest performances in an Origin arena in the history of Origin. In my opinion, since I've been watching rugby league, it is only second to Joey's performance. That, for me, is one of the great bounce backs brought to you by MOSH. Boys, thoughts on the Munster performance?
Unforgettable, but as a New South Welshman, so forgettable at the same time. What a nightmare that was. The Origin series at the end of the year and whatnot. And it was great because you could watch for the entire week him just cruising around Byron. You literally watched it all unfold live. Unbelievable stuff.
Timmy.
Yeah. Look, I'm not surprised it's taken a whole of an episode and a half in 2024 to bring this up again. And I'm annoyed to be talking about it early. To do it and go into an Origin arena and kill it, fair play to him.
MOSH, they're obviously called Bounce Back, your hair, bounce back. MOSH is the place to go for smarter hair loss treatment. Most men think that the only option to try and combat hair loss is to spend thousands at clinics, and many don't want to go all the way to the doctors about it. Well, times have changed. MOSH is 100% online, so there's no travelling to the doctor clinics or pharmacies. MOSH deals with every bloke on a case-by-case basis. Their Aussie doctors will give you real advice as to where you are in your hair regrowth journey, prescribe you what works from over 90 plus treatment variations that are delivered straight to your door. Join over 30,000 other guys in the MOSH hair regrowth family and get $50 off your first treatment plan when you use code BLOKE50. That's right, use code BLOKE50 and you get $50 off your first treatment plan. Completely customized, totally online and cheap hair regrowth solutions for $45 a month. Smarter hair loss treatment all starts with a quiz at getmosh.com.au. As I said, guys, and look, I know you're sitting there going, hey, if I do the regrowth, the boys there'll be a bit of banter. But I tell you what, there will be a bit of banter. But if they're your real mates, they'll be happy that you're happy, baby. They'll be happy that you're happy. So
You just got to embrace the banter.
embrace the banter, baby. And also, you're actually contributing to the group by a bit of banter. If you can bring in a bit of banter and at your expense, that's actually you're doing a service to the crew. At the Broncos, that's literally what I was signed for the last time, was to come into the team meetings and talk absolute nonsense. So, as I said, guys, if we hit certain targets, so if you're thinking about it, get on board. If we hit certain targets, they will become a long-term sponsor. So support MOSH because they support us, and then we can have a long-term relationship with MOSH. And a massive thank you to MOSH for getting on board. Okay, let's get into the next segment. Okay. Selwyn Cobbo. Actually, let's go Sean Blore, Justin Olam. Swap deal has been confirmed, effective immediately. Now, we already spoke about the rumours of this, but it is being confirmed. It is done and dusted. I absolutely love this swap, and I actually love it for both sides. I saw some people saying that, Melbourne had won, and then other people's Tigers had won because Blore had the injury history. I think this is literally both teams get exactly what they need right now. And also, from a Tigers perspective, it's quite shrewd because you'd have to assume Blore was on the out anyway, that he wasn't going to re-sign there. So they actually got someone in return for him rather than, just losing him. I love this for both players. I love this for both clubs. Your thoughts, Guru? I
agree, mate. I love it for both. I think it's a real even trade. And, 2 months ago, if you would have said to me, what's wrong with Melbourne? I said, they're a strike forward short. And we said, what's wrong with the Tigers? I'm worried about the outside backs. Both have filled those problems. I think that, if I, gun to head had to pick which one I think's one, I'd probably lean towards Melbourne just because of what Sean Blore, I think the potential he has. But, mate, you're talking about Justin Olam, who's been one of the best centres in rugby league for a long time. In my opinion, coming off his worst season, he's got a point to prove. I couldn't think of anything worse than Justin Olam with a point to prove.
Oh, man.
Fuck that.
Yeah. Totally agree. And we are so quick in rugby league to go, he had a bad year, he's done. It's like, how often have we seen now where, especially in today's game, players can have bad years, and they're so good clubs with the welfare managers, with everything, being able to get the headspace right to get them to go again. Whereas I feel like sometimes back in the day, once a player was gone, we didn't have welfare offers and all that kind of stuff when I was coming through. Once a guy's gone, it's just, see you, you're done.
What a big thing it would be, especially for Benji Marshall coming in. If he manages to get him back to his best, what a tick next to his name.
100%.
That seemingly Bellamy wasn't able to do it for the last year or so. If Benji manages to do it, geez, that's a confidence boost for just the club in general.
Timmy, thoughts, mate?
Yeah, I think a win for both of them. Great swap deal, great outcome. I think I'd probably lean in the camp if we're picking a winner. I'd probably go with Melbourne. It adds a bit of not just depth to their forward pack, which I think they desperately needed, but they've also got a bloke who could be, if he can stay fit, injury-free, an 80-minute starting edge back rower, which I think is so invaluable to what that side needs. Plenty of injuries the last few years, Blore, but if you can put a season together and start stringing some games, we know the upside. You hear from people within the Tigers and around NRL circles in recent years, the way they speak of Sean Blore and what he's capable of. I hope we see him hit his best underneath Craig Bellamy. you look at Justin Olam, who's the experience. He's been there and done it for years. Great resume. We could be 6 weeks into the season going, the Tigers have won out. Justin Olam's back to his best. He's destroying blokes. He's got his defensive issues sorted. He works in their defensive system at the Tigers. So, as I said, a great result for both clubs.
Yeah. I think with the Blore situation, the only thing holding it out for me for being an out-and-out just win is the injury history.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, because if you got to go, let's say you're just bringing Sean Blore in, and he's not going to have any injuries in the past. His resume as a junior, you're going, this guy could play Origin. Like that's how good he was coming through the grades. With Olam, I agree with you, Timmy, that if he hits his form again, that's a Dally M centre, and you just got a Dally M centre. I'm sure it's not for massive amount of money as well. Maybe there is some being paid. I'm not sure. That's exactly what the Tigers need in the outside backs, is an experienced campaigner that rolls the sleeves up and says, boys, get behind me. Get on me hair, boys. Get on me hair, but in the backs.
And when you say Dally M Centre too, it's not like that was a decade ago.
Yeah.
2-3 years ago.
Yeah,
max.
it's really not that long ago. So, yeah. I think a big win for both clubs.
Tigers fans, what do you think, mate?
Well, sad to see Sean go, obviously, but you're quite right. At least we've got something, and something that we needed as well. And you touched on the shrewd nature of it, how we got on the front foot and said, go now and we'll get something. I feel like with the old administration, or when we had all the board there before that all happened, this is exactly the sort of thing where we just let a bloke go, get nothing for it, and go, here we go, we're screwed again.
Yeah.
So at least, that's what's given me a bit of positivity. At least we've got something for it, and it's something that we needed as well. So optimistic.
It is also a really good tick for the new kind of management. I know that he's only got a 6-month contract with the idea that maybe he does re-sign. I think he just wants to see, Richardson wants to see the lay of the land. But that's a great get for the Tigers in such a short time. It shows a club that is, because sometimes dealing with the Storm, they're such heavyweights and I guess big club, they can kind of push around the little club sometimes. Now, granted, they did loan Harry Grant out for a year to the Tigers. Who'd they get for him? Nofaluma?
Yeah, no, he went later.
Morovsky.
That's right.
Morovsky.
Yep.
So granted, it has happened before, but it is a good tick that this new management has got this done. It's a substantial exactly what they've needed, because I think with the Harry Grant situation, I think Melbourne were more just going, look, yeah, we'll have someone good, but really we just want minutes in Harry Grant.
It was a masterstroke.
Yeah, from Melbourne, whereas Tigers it didn't really they ended up coming 9th, I think.
2020.
Yeah, 9th might feel a little bit high.
Yeah, well, they didn't make finals, we know that.
Yeah. You can guarantee that.
And so, long term for the Tigers, did it really help the club for that loan period? But this could help them longer term. So I think it's a great deal. Really, really good. I'm really interested to see Tigers all of a sudden, now that the board has been changed and new people have come in, they've fast become the most interesting team to watch heading into 2024.
Would you say top 8 can be this year? Or?
I think they've got the roster to challenge for the top 8. The only tough thing with the with the Tigers, is when you look at the teams that didn't make the 8 last year, and you go Eels, South, Cowboys, you go, shit, now that's a hard ask. But their roster is nowhere near the bottom of the table, especially their forward pack. So we'll do the season preview probably next week or the week after.
Before we move off that, this sparked an interesting conversation in one of my group chats. If you were to have a son named Sean, how would you spell it? I was Shaun personally.
Yep.
I'm the opposite. I'm EAN.
EAN, I think.
I'm HAUN.
Is anyone going WN? Like Sean Blore?
No.
No.
I don't think so.
If you had stayed, maybe, but no.
But give Sean the Blore, that's for sure. Okay.
They got more than it deserved.
That was good.
Thanks. I'm here all year actually. Okay. Next topic. Zac Hosking signs with the Raiders effective immediately.
Well done,
3-year
mate.
deal.
Cheers, boys.
Massive congratulations. I asked you this on my story. Is Timmy a podcaster playing the NRL undercover? Or is Hoskins an NRL player doing a podcast undercover? The results were a resounding win for Timmy. Is an undercover NRL player. Sorry, he's a podcaster that happens to be playing NRL. So That's the people have spoken. The people have spoken. Zac Hosking signs with the Raiders. If you could have if there is a God, and we can get into that if you want. You want to talk into this? Okay.
We're still the off-season, got to pad it out a little bit.
If you could have created the perfect Ricky Stewart signing, it would have been Hoskins. He fits the Raiders so perfectly. I love this signing for the Raiders. Now, are you absolutely obsessed with forwards? Yes, you are. But I love this signing. Timmy, we'll go to you first, mate.
We are obsessed with forwards. It'd be great to pay a bit of attention to the back line and spine in particular. That being said, we're not paying Zac Hosking $800K a year, to my knowledge. So it's a great little succession plan for Elliott Whitehead to wrap it up at the end of this year, or have a reduced role over the next sort of 12 months. He's a very similar player. He's a hard-working back rower, runs a decent line, good worker in defence. I love it for us. And if he can hit, we've seen over the last 2 years in relatively limited opportunities, certainly at the Broncos and even at Penrith, he had some decent opportunities. But I think the emergence of Scott Sorensen as an edge back rower as opposed to a sort of bench middle impact forward reduced his opportunities a little bit. But he looked great every time I saw him play for Penrith. I thought, we'll have got him at a good price. He comes down. I think he can slot straight in for Elliott Whitehead. Whether Elliott is an 80-minute back rower all of this year and we're looking towards the following year, I think he's a great signing. And as you said, he stands for everything that Ricky Stewart wants in a player. Hard worker. He's got ticker. Seems like a bloke who'd have a great attitude and a great work ethic. So, great signing.
I think when you look at who the Raiders were chasing, for how much money they would have to pay for Keon, for Fafita, for what you get for Hoskins, you could make the argument it's a better signing for the club. I don't think that the club needed an explosive edge-back rower right now. They got Hudson Young. How many games has that bloke won? We got a guy that I know that he played one game and he ended up did he get
2?
dropped?
I think
2. Anyway, so but there was one game where he didn't play, correct?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Whatever. You've got a guy like Hudson Young. He can be your X factor. Sides are all about balance, and I just wonder if they had have got Fafita and Keon, who are guns in their own right, but A, they're going to cost you at least $800,000. B, you're almost unbalancing your side because you can't have 2 game breakers on either side. You don't need, but history would suggest you got one side that is a game breaker, other side that's just a workhorse. That usually is the best balance of edge back roles.
But the $800 to $1 million that we would have paid for Dave Fafita, Keon, whoever it might be, we don't need that in the forwards.
Yeah.
Keep that in reserves and make a big play for a spine player because that is what we need, not another gun forward on big money.
That's why I was so surprised that there was so many whispers about Fafita and Keon, because I'm just why spend that money into an area that you are so dominant in? Especially when you got, and look, to be fair, in Ricky's defence, he has got some young rookies in the halves that will be ready in a few years. But maybe you find an outside back, maybe you find maybe a game break. You could find some pretty good fullbacks for $800,000. Yeah. Pretty bloody good fullbacks for $800,000.
Yeah.
So I love this signing. It's got a Ricky Stewart special all over it, where if we're sitting in 2 or 3 years going, mate, he is the grittiest, toughest, most underrated forward in the comp. It really does remind me of that. Love this signing. Anything else on that signing there?
Yeah, I just thought towards the back end of 2023, Hosking, he fell out of favour a little bit at the Penrith Panthers.
I think defensively he just lacked a little bit.
Yeah, which is, I was going to say, I think people look at Hosking because he's been around for a couple of years and he's older. I think it just shows how fucking hard first grade is. Being an 80-minute back row, week in, week out, it takes a toll. You saw Jackson Ford at the Warriors, exact same thing happened. Looked amazing. Then the back end of the season all started to catch up for him. I think for the Raiders, huge advantage that he's got that season under his belt. I reckon he'll be much better for it now. And if you're moving forward into the future with one edge Hudson Young, one edge Hosking, and it means you can, I would rather see the Raiders blow that $800K or $1 million on a halfback, 5'8", an outside back. I think it's a really nice little signing.
Yeah,
and he's going to do well under Ricky. Ricky's going to fucking love this bloke.
And the best thing about a guy like him is he's not going to do bad. You've got a guaranteed solid NRL player.
I don't see how we lose. Worst case, he is awesome depth for us on, I said, probably not a massive wicket. Realistically, he probably plays off the bench a lot this year. If there's an injury to Whitehead or Hudson, he becomes a starting edge back rower. seems like a really safe bet.
And I think he's the sort of guy, like as you said, you can't lose with. Whereas if you get a Fafita down there,
You can lose.
do you have the guys that know how to use Fafita?
Yeah.
Do you have the structure to get the best out of Fafita? I love the direction they've gone in.
Yeah, it's a good point in regards to like Fafita and Keon. It's like individually they'll play well, but will they play worth $1 million or 800K? And as you just said, will they be used correctly? I mean, it's taken Kieran Foran to go to the Titans to get the best out of Fafita. Now, granted, Fafita had some really good years. It was the price tag that kind of outweighed everything, but the best year that we've seen has been outside Foran.
It's a different conversation about Fafita today if Foz hadn't arrived there,
Yeah,
though,
for
without
sure.
a doubt.
For sure, absolutely.
Hosking also... It was Hosking last year that got moved to centre a few times.
He
for
played a
Penrith,
few
wasn't it?
times, yeah.
And he was awesome there.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, he's not a starting centre in the NRL, but as far as utility value goes, where if you've got your 4-pack and you don't have utility on the bench, to be able to slot Hosking in at centre, if push comes to shove and there's injuries, handy little attribute.
You're winning every game by 4 points. Having a mad defensive centre would probably come in handy if need be. Like,
And I personally think he's tough enough. If you need a stint in the front row, he'll do it.
For sure.
If
Yeah.
you just need to get him in there 20 minutes to go hard, I think he could do it. Okay. This is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp, our show partner this week. It's the start of a new year and we all have our own resolutions. Some of us want to get fit, some want to learn a new skill, some of us want to watch more footy. But there's a lot of us that probably just want to improve our mental health. If you're thinking of getting a hand with your mental game, get in touch with BetterHelp. Their services are entirely online and designed to work around you and your schedule. We all need a little guidance from time to time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bloke. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bloke. You get 10% off. Now, it's reported AJ Brimson will play centre. The reports were also that Campbell will play fullback, expected to beat Keano. Is it Keano?
Keano Keeney.
Keano Keeney for the role. Just a side note, I am surprised at how much noise Keeney is getting to that he's, obviously every team you're competing for spots, but I felt like Jaden Campbell is like locked, like Campbell and Brimo are locked in ahead of Kinney, but I've been quite surprised at how much it's being pushed, even kind of from Titans as well, that Kinney is like on an equal footing with them and potentially going to get the spot. He must be, training the house down. He must be training the house down. But yeah, anyway, Brimo to centres. Look, what I like about this is a decision has been made early, it looks like, and they're going with it. Now, they actually have quite some good outside backs. Is centre Brimo's best position? No, it's not in my opinion. But we all have to look back at Tom Trbojevich's best year, who was it under? It was under Desi. Now, I know he was playing fullback, but he went into Origin and he played that kind of roaming role. I'm sure Desi, I guess, had some influence on that and some input on that. And so I wonder, because I don't see Brimo being a typical centre that sits out on his on his edge and just basically waits for the game to kind of come to him, does his work. I think we're going to see a centre that comes in, ball plays a little bit, scoots a little bit. So, as I said, I'm not sure if I'm sold on Brimo moving to centre, but what I am sold on is for too many years, it's 2 years now, they've been umming and ahhing with Campbell at 14 when he's not a 14, he's also not a 6, and they've gone, you know what? We need Campbell in the starting side. We know Brimo can play anywhere in the outside backs, essentially, and they've made the decision early. Thoughts?
Yeah, I personally think Brimson is the best fullback at the club.
Agreed.
But it is such an... And you know what, there's... when I have a look at them, like Keeney looks like he is super talented, but he's not proven in first grade.
Yeah.
Jaden Campbell is proven in first grade. Brimson's proven at state of origin level. So I think he is the best fullback at the club. But I agree, just to make it all work, I think you're better off having Jaden Campbell at fullback. I think it's very evident from what we've seen of Jaden Campbell that you can't have him defending in the front line. So fullback, I think, is his best position. And then... for me, I straight away go, I'd rather have AJ Brimson at 5'8", for example.
Yeah.
But then what are you doing? You're moving Kieran Foran to halfback, which
Tanner gets pushed to maybe 14.
Tanner gets pushed. If Kieran Foran retires at the end of this year, you've had Tanner sitting on the bench for a year. So, like, I think it's very evident what the Gold Coast Titans have done, and there is direction. I hate it for AJ Brimson, to be completely honest with you. But that centre role, it's adapting so much in the modern game. The centre role is almost becoming like what the lock forward role was 4 or 5 years ago. It's you use it how it suits your team almost.
Yeah.
Like for me, for example, when Val Holmes got moved to the centres, I straight went, I fucking hate that. He's not a centre.
Yeah.
Now I love him at centre.
Yeah, and he does play it quite a unique way too.
He does. Yeah,
almost
he
like
plays
a
his own
winger
way.
to a degree.
And as you said, you know, when you look at Desi Hasler, he's got a history with certain guys. Like I look at the way that he used to use Jamie Lyon at centre. Like Jamie Lyon played like no other centre in the game.
Yeah,
He's pretty
true.
much playing a second 5'8" role.
Yeah.
I think with Brimo, sure, you wear 3 or 4 on your back, but you play AJ Brimson footy. You do your thing out there, and I think it can work. It's just when we like for the Gold Coast Titans that have never been able to attract, you know, absolute superstar all-time talents, to be able to have these 3 guys in the same room. I think you've just got to make it work somehow. Maybe this is the best way to do it.
Speaking of superstars, you know who they missed on, Guru?
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
They never forgave themselves
Not
after
if I
that,
was in
Guru.
the recruitment department.
They never forgave themselves.
Yeah.
They're still kicking themselves for that. Local junior, mate. Well, not a local junior, actually. Just a local that happened to be.
Could you have been a foundation player? Could you have been a foundation player? Would that have lined up? 06, you could have been, couldn't you? Were you in the Broncos system?
No, I was in Bronco system 05, I think. Like, so.
Yeah, so they came in 06, so you could have...
07
was
came
it?
in. So I think it might have been just a year too early.
Yeah, okay.
Did you and Geordie Rapana cross paths through juniors? I know you're a late bloomer, late starter, I should say.
Well,
but
I didn't play any juniors.
that's what I mean. Yeah. But even like it sort of, when did you start? 17, 18 or something?
I went straight into Broncos under 19s.
19s. Because, yeah, Rapper he's a Gold Coast junior as well, similar age. Just thought you might have crossed paths.
No, I went because the Brisbane side that was under 19s for Broncos was West, and we played in the Brisbane comp. So
Cross paths, Cavalav. Dangerous.
I mean, the only time I remember going to Cavalav, I got in a massive punch on. If I'm being honest, guys called me some slurs, and I had to defend myself.
Cattle dog.
Hammy, I defended myself. I said, "I'm not that slur you just called me, even though it's okay if you are. I'm not that." Got the fisticuffs up, defended my honour, even though it's okay.
Get your dukes up.
Handled myself all right. Anyway, Brimo to centre. Look, I think that, okay, if there is one knock on the halves pairing for the Titans, is that attacking punch they don't have. Like, so Foran, he's older, so he doesn't have that explosiveness, even though I think that Tanner and Foran, I thought Foran was great last year, but that punch that you compare to like a Dylan Brown or a Cam Munster, they don't really have, which is okay because you get trade-offs for it. But the beauty about that is I feel that at times, as you suggested, Brimo can go, all right, boys, I'm going to jump in at 6 for this set. Tanner or whoever, just jump out there for a little bit, probably Tanner. And that's how he can kind of get Brimo in the game where he needs to be, almost like 5 metres in closer than a fullback would be. And you're going to see sets of Brimo to Campbell, which is scary as shit.
And that's where I'm very confident that this all looks a little bit strange to us, as most things Des Hasler does are. It all doesn't quite make sense. Like I remember in the early 2010s when we were in the absolute peak of the wrestle and everything, and he had this Canterbury side where all the forwards were passing the ball 15 times a game. You go, what the fuck's that? They go to 2 grand finals in 3 years. Like Desi just sees it all a little bit differently. And that's the beauty of Des Hasler. So I'm sure it'll look a little bit strange. I can't wait for the press conferences with Des Hasler to be back and hearing him explain all this when everyone's doubting him and he just sits there and goes, yeah, good as gold. I'll show you how it's done.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I don't like it at all, to be honest with you. I just think, you know, we know how much of a talent AJ Brimson is in the game. He's done it at Origin level. He's done it, you know, for a fair while now at club level. I just think he's such a star of our game. He has a lot of probably soft tissue injuries where he misses games here and there, and he'll miss 2 months and he'll come back one game at fullback, 5'8", whatever it is, and he'll be the best player on the field. Like, he is a freak. And I just think you're taking so much opportunity away from him to impact the game at centre. I don't think centre's his position at all. I think, as you mentioned, and I'll get to in a sec, around Desi and how he may or may not utilise him, he'll find a way to get him involved in games, but I just think I wish he was at fullback. I would probably have him at 5'8", and have Kieran Foran playing as a 7, getting around the park. Foz does that anyway. He wears the 6, but he's a great game manager. And if you need to step up and do it even more so alongside someone like AJ Brimson, I think Brimo's wasted at centre. How will Desi use him? He'll have a plan there. He'll get him more involved, but you're also potentially overcomplicating things a little bit. Get him roaming, get him involved, but I don't like it.
But I think that's if you're talking about 2024 standalone season, I would do that as well. But, if Foz retires at the end of this year, we're sitting here in a year's time going, okay, well, who's the halfback? We haven't seen Weaver. We haven't seen Tanner Boyd in a year now. So I think the Titans are trying to look a little bit further down the track.
And even like you look at, which is fair, you look at the same Val Holmes made the move. Val, as you mentioned, Kebby, he's almost like another winger because he has such a high work rate. He runs that real hard, bat out of hell line, which not saying Brimson can't do that, but I don't think that's his strengths. He's got a good running game, but it's because he's got such nimble footwork. He sees what's in front of him, opening up really well, reads a game. I think centre's weird. I am super excited to see how it plays out and how Desi plans to get him involved and where he's going to. As I said, he has to roam and get involved and chime into the back line in different spots. That's exciting. I don't rate it.
I'll tell you what, I think the Gold Coast Titans, and it's credit to them, I guess, but geez, they're lucky just how loyal AJ Brimson is to the Gold Coast. Because if I was AJ Brimson, I think he's a top 10 fullback in rugby league. I don't think.
I think higher.
I think higher too, but at minimum top 10 fullback, and at the moment he might not be top 2 at his club.
And then you add in the defensive concerns. I don't know if he's played much outside backs in his career. I'm going to assume not. Certainly not at NRL level. Maybe in juniors. It's a big job. We talk about it all the time, but to go from defending as a fullback to a centre, he's going to get so much pressure out there. So I'm. Yeah,
it's such a. I believe Brimson is the best fullback at the club, but it is such a tough question that you have to ask yourself as a coach. Do we continue developing the most key position on the field, number 7, and trade that in for giving Brimo a better position, which may be 6, and getting Campbell on the field? It's like, I think that it's just one of those decisions where there's no right answers. Like, you're going to lose somewhere. Yeah. And I think that Desi's probably sat down and gone, where's the one place you can't lose the most out of everything? It's number 7. And I think that's probably what swayed his decision of Tanner Boyd seems like the guy going forward for them. If not Weaver, but Tanner Boyd seems like the guy. If I take something away from that position by not letting him play for the year or putting him in reserve grade, how much is that going to impact my chances of winning a comp? Whereas if I take Brimo and put him in the centres and Campbell gets more game time, how much does that negatively impact us winning a comp? Probably not that much. Not that much.
Yeah, and I'd play Tanner at 14 if I did how I sort of structured the spine. And I understand that they're in a tough place and Desi's come in and he's got this luxury. He's got so many riches to choose from with all these talented players. What a great position for the club to be in, firstly. They've been in it for a couple of years now. And it's finally now they're saying, all right, make the big call to get them all in. We've got to play Brimson at centre. I understand it. I personally would have gone a different way from it. I understand the emphasis on the number 7, wanting to keep Tanner Boyd. If I was to put Tanner Boyd to 14, I'd feel horrible because he deserves to be, and he's proven that he's good enough to be a starting number 7 in the NRL. But they've just got this such luxury of riches.
I just think with the Tanner situation, you need him playing as many minutes as possible as the 7 in NRL. Like, if as a club, you need to commit to that 7. Otherwise, it's going to be, let's say, you moved into 14, you're heading into 2025 going, is Tanner Boyd the guy? Is he not the guy? Now, if he goes there and doesn't play well, let's say Tanner has a bad year, you go, well, he's not the guy. We need to recruit. We need to bring, you get answers.
I know this is not a great way of looking at it, but Kieran Foran, AJ Brimson, quite a terrible injury history between them. They've missed a lot of games over their careers. If you've got Tanner at 14, I think there's every chance you see him starting for a lot of games this year anyway.
But I think you also want to build that belief in Tanner that you're the guy.
Yeah,
You're the guy moving forward. Yeah. Like, AJ can be the superstar, but they need someone to give them direction. And I think the Titans, I think their forward pack is unreal. It's exciting. Fantastic. So they've got that sorted. But you're right, it is just such a tough position that if you're trying to get the best team on park in 2024, I think it's Brimson at 6, Foz at 7. But then if Foz retires at the end of the year, you're just left going, okay, well, where are we now?
And you talk about clubs in rebuilding phases like Tigers, like the Dragons, the Doggies. Look, I don't think the Titans are going to win the comp this year, but I do think they can make the 8. And I think best case scenario, they can be pushing for top 4 because they've got so much talent in this roster. So it's not like you go, all right, 2024 we build and we add to 2025. I'm like, no, I want to have success this year. Like, we've got a good side.
Yeah, I think if I'm looking at it, I agree with you. At best, they can finish top 4. At okay, satisfactory, they should be at least fighting for the 8. But when I look at the age of that forward pack and I look at the age of Tanner Boyd, I go, when are we really going to win a comp? It's going to be at the super earliest 25, but probably 6 or 7. And I think that's probably what's made him wait up and going, okay, he's safe for the first year. Whatever happens, he's going to be safe. That's where he's gone. They're not going to come out and like Desi Hasler's never going to come out into a season and go, I'm just going to build for next year.
Yeah.
But I just think that if his goal is a premiership, I think it's the right call for the club as a whole, but it's probably not the right call for Brimo individually. But I totally see what you're saying. Like, it's tough. It's so tough.
If Desi makes it work and he tailors a game plan and this unique style of centre for AJ Brimson, so exciting. And he does manage to make it all fit without taking away, the ball playing strengths of AJ Brimson. Like, they could go.
Maybe it's also a potential. Maybe Desi's buying time of going, okay, Brimo's going to be around for a while. I want to see how he defends in the front line. Foz retires next year, and then I move Brimo into that 6 role because I've seen how he goes for that first year of NRL defending in the front line. Maybe that's what he's looking at.
Yeah, like a little looking to the future.
Yeah.
A Brimo-Tanner halves combination.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Because that is something that's exciting. And if you're, I know it's 1 over and centre is different defending at 3, but it's much closer than defending at fullback, like Mako. So what do you reckon, Hammy?
Well, I just wonder how Brimo feels about having to play in the centres is probably my big question. I think you've raised some good points, and particularly Campy about like getting them all out on the field now and kind of also keeping a bit of an eye to the future there too. I don't know. I just feel like he's a little bit wasted at centre, but yeah, I mean, you just got to get him out there and make it work for the balance of the team, I suppose. I don't think he'd want to be like a long-term centre though. So whether, your point there about him moving into 6 after a year or 2 might be the way to go. But I don't know how he's feeling about it. And, if he's sitting there at centre and that's where he's got to play because they've got Campbell there, is that the sort of thing that might make him want to look around a little bit? You definitely don't want to lose him. So tough situation, but, they've probably just done the best with what they've got at the moment.
Boys, you want a Supercoach hot tip?
Yep. Yes, please.
Campbell at fullback.
Not bad.
Paying up for
You're
him.
actually on the radar here.
There you go. There you go. There's your tip. It's free this time. Won't be free next time.
How do you feel about Bo Fermor returning?
Mate, love it. Love it. I'm actually excited for Bo Fermor because he was he in the Queensland squad? He was definitely in the conversation.
He was
with
on
Queensland.
the verge.
Yeah, can't wait to see him back. But with the Titans, I am so excited for them as a club. I'm writing an article as we speak on the Titans, but it's almost sink or swim from at the moment, where there's almost no excuses anymore. They got good backers of the club, like good owners of the club. They got one of the best coaches we've seen in a very long time. Their roster is one of the best young forward packs in the competition. There really is no excuse for them not to be playing finals footy over the next couple of years.
And the beauty of the massive problem we're talking about is literally they've got too much talent.
Yeah, which has always been an
unbelievable
drama
for them. Like as you said, obviously Kieran Foran, a lot of injuries over the last few years. It's almost at the point where if during the year, if Kieran Foran has a 5 or 6 week spell, I go, okay, let's have a look what 2025 looks like. It's almost there's almost a silver lining if Foz does miss a little bit of footy. There was times last year where I was watching Foz and he's just too tough for his own good, but I was going, fuck, he needs a few weeks off here.
Yeah.
And if they get to that point again this year, which I reckon they probably will because Foz is too tough for his own good, geez, it'd be great to see Tanner and Brimo have a few weeks together.
Yeah.
And you go, all right, Foz goes down. You move Brimo into the halves, or you get Aussie schoolboys halfback Tom Weaver coming in.
But what really excites me about Weaver, and we're getting ahead of ourselves because we're doing the season preview, but what excites me about Weaver is he has a massive boot on him. And I think that's one part of the Titans game where you're like, Foz can kick, decent. Tanner Boyd, decent, but they don't have that massive boot that Weaver did. I think he ended up kicking for 800, 900 metres on his debut, a lot. that's exciting because, like, you look at the best team in the comp, Nathan Cleary. What does he have that is better than everyone else? It's a short, long, medium range kicking game. But yeah, really exciting times for the Titans. Now onto their big brother, and will always be their big brother. What? Is that controversial, or am I going to get hate?
No comment.
I'm going to get some hate in the
You'll
conversation.
get a little bit of hate. I reckon.
A little bit of hate?
Yeah.
Got haters, bro. That's when you know you made it.
Kempy, the dishonour of Kempy going against his local homegrown area of Gold Coast, and he's just dissing him.
No. Let's be real here. You got to be loyal to the person that saw something in you, and that's what the Brisbane Broncos did, mate. I mean, to be fair, Titans, how can you sign a guy that's not actually playing rugby league right now? That is probably why they didn't sign me. Now, they could have gotten down the road. Well, actually, I was in Brisbane playing for the Queensland Roar at this stage, but they could have picked me up as a 15-year-old. I was still down at Palm Beach playing for Gold Coast United, so
They've just
soccer.
never had the vision.
Didn't have the vision. They weren't like Roo. Roo would have been
found
down
you.
at soccer, looking for some rugby league potential players.
In
Imagine,
Postecoglou's ear down there. At the Brisbane Roar.
absolutely. Imagine watching soccer and going, yeah, some of these boys could play rugby league at a professional level.
Yeah, good God.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Okay, Selwyn Cobbo to play centre. Kevin Walters has confirmed that Selwyn Cobbo will play centre for the Broncos to start the season. Who plays right wing? Look, I don't know whether this is the right call, but I do know that I'm not surprised that they made this call. I think a lot of people were kind of like, what? Where's this come from? It's like, I'm not surprised by it, but we spoke about it in the Suoliti situation. Wingers, in my opinion, today are probably more important than centres, and they get more ball usually. And so when you got a guy like Selwyn Cobbo, I just wonder, is it worth losing what he does out of our own end and what he can do on the wing to put him in centre? It's worth losing if you're going to use him correctly, for sure, because then you've got Latrell Mitchell, GI as examples, Joey Manu. But that's the question that has to be answered. Whereas, you know, if you put a guy like Mariner, you can afford to have a guy like Mariner or Jesse Arthurs, you know, Jesse Arthurs and Mariner are going to come in and do the really tough work. The thing with Selwyn is you don't want to lose that X factor that you have on the wing. If you're bringing Mariner in, let's say Mariner pipped Jesse Arthurs, even though, actually, I'm getting that wrong, aren't I? Because Jesse Arthurs will be on one wing and the other wing will be the Dean Mariner. Oh, sorry. It's between Corey Oates, Jesse Arthurs, and Dean Mariner for the wings, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. But let's just assume you're going to bring Dean Mariner into the centre. Because he's a rookie, you could almost go, we want him in centre. He's not doing as much work and he's not as vital to our attack because he's a rookie, so we can kind of like, that's okay. What do you reckon, Guru?
Yeah, my initial reaction was that I didn't like it. And I sort of sat back and I thought more about it, and it started to appeal to me more and more. I just love him on the right wing, though. I just think, like, I don't have any stats to back it up or whatever, but my vibe is that there probably wouldn't be a half and winger combination that produced more points than probably Adam Reynolds and Selwyn Cobbo. Like the amount of times that they're connecting off kicks, pass, whatever it might be, I love that little combo. The thing that I worry about is moving Selwyn Cobbo to that side is that you're now going to have that edge is going to go Pia Kura, Ezra Mam, Selwyn Cobbo. It's a lot of inexperience.
And maybe Mariner, if he
gets that gig, yeah. It's a very inexperienced edge. And for me, if I'm playing Brisbane, I know where I'm going.
Yeah, all day.
Every single day of the week, which would be a big test. I think who do you play round one in Brisbane? You play in Vegas. Roosters. And then I think round two is Penrith at Penrith. So it's going to be
Joey Manu first, and
then Isaac Tungo, Nathan Cleary's edge.
Taylor May,
something. It's going to be a tough gig. Brian Toto. So it'll be a baptism of fire. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
Round 2 South.
Is round 3 Penrith.
So you got Campbell Graham or...
It's proper baptism of fire.
Yeah.
Like they'll get worked out quickly if there's an issue there. And
Campbell Graham and Jackie Whiten. Oof.
Yeah. I quite often found for Brisbane last year, I thought your weak point quite often was that in defence, Selwyn Cobbo and Staggs. So I actually don't mind the idea of splitting those two up, but I'm not sure how Selwyn's going to go defending at centre.
A little bit of concern as well, if you've got two centres, Selwyn Cobbo, Tony Staggs, on paper you're sitting there going, stop the press. But how are you going to balance the ball to both centres? Yeah. You know, you need, we spoke about it with the edge back rollers, you need one dominant centre and one good defensive centre. Whereas like, Tony Staggs already doesn't get enough ball. Timmy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, throwing off some negative Nancy vibes today, but I do not like it. I just don't really understand it. You've got Selwyn Cobbo, who's still pretty early on in his career, but he's such a star winger, and you give him an inch and he's gone because he's so quick, he's so strong. He's one of the best finishers in the game. Sure, he's got a few deficiencies, a few question marks under the high ball at times, a few defensive reads, but I'll tell you one thing, the defensive reads aren't going to get any easier playing at centre. I think they've got someone like Dean Mariner, who played all of last season in Q Cup at centre and was terrific, just a ready-made little replacement. You mentioned there that on top of that, he's going to have to move sides to accommodate all this. I think your Suoliti comparison last year is very similar to me. It was like, whether it's best for the team or if the player wants to move and play centre, but I think he's going to get in there, he's going to get less ball, he's going to get ball in less space. His runs might go from 15 to 20 a game down to 8 to 10 because, as you said, they're still trying to get ball to the other edge of Katoni Staggs. He's got that great attacking combination that Guru alluded to with Adam Reynolds. I don't know. It's not like they were desperate to find a centre like a certain club might be, which might force a change. You've got a ton of centres to choose from. And I know you've got a lot of wingers as well, but I just sort of thought Mariner would have come in, Cobbo would stay on the wing.
Would you assume that if Kevin Maltz's come out and said this, would you assume that Selwyn is asked to be given a shot at that? Like you're saying Selwyn wants?
Maybe, because I still think there's this vibe that centres are more important than wingers, this kind of old school thinking.
What do the Broncos gain out of putting him to centre, do you think, rather than the wing? What is the benefit?
It's the tough thing. The reason why I don't know whether it's the right call is because we could be sitting here in 12 months going Dally M Centre of the Year.
Yeah.
Because he's so talented.
He's so talented that he'll go well there, but I think he is going to offer a lot more on the wing.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of keeping your strike players on the wing because I just think that they, for some reason, in today's game, they just are in positions more to change games. I'm not surprised about it, but I'm just unsure whether it's the right call. Maybe they're a bit hesitant to put Dean Mariner in that centre spot because he is a rookie, and that's why they're doing it. And I think as well, we got to remember, we always say, who's he play like? Latrell Mitchell, GI, similar kind of styles of play. If you were to say, if he is to reach that potential in centre, then you go, well, you'd never put Latrell or GI on the wing in their prime. You'd put him in the centre. So if he does hit those heights, then it's the right call. But I do think the game has kind of moved a little bit away from that, where wingers have just become so important. So I probably would have kept him on the wing. Now, maybe they're looking at it like Jesse Arthur's on the wing, Corey Oates or Dean Mariner. Yeah, look, I probably would have kept him on the wing, but I am absolutely not closed to the idea that we could be looking in 12 months' time going, that's a Dally M Centre of the Year.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
No denying that.
He's a weapon. I wouldn't be stunned if by round 8 if he's back on the wing.
Back on the wing, killing it. And it's Jesse Arthurs or Dean Mariner in the centre's position.
Yeah.
I think I actually probably would go Mariner there. Like if I had to make the call right now without seeing the preseason, because you've got to remember as well, we're doing this just to what we see 80 minutes on the weekend. Yep. Whereas Kevy and every single club, they see what these guys do at training all the time. So there's got to, there must be certain things he's seeing that really suits his position at centre.
For sure. And like Desi Hasler with AJ Brimson at the Titans, watches him there. I'm sure he's trialled him at centre, throughout the preseason so far. And he's tried all these things we've talked about getting him into the back line and sweeping and doing all that. And it's probably worked. We can't see that though.
Yeah, because when I look at Selwyn, imagine him on that overs line with that big fent. Yep. That is dangerous. And that flick out the back with such a big body and how quick he is. So I don't think it's the wrong call, but I also don't know whether it's the right call right now.
Even if they're thinking they've got so many wingers, let's shore up the centre spot. Jesse Arthur's played essentially the whole season in 2022 at centre for the Warriors.
But I think with Jesse Arthurs, he is so valuable on the wing with his tough carries that you're just like, I need.
I like Arthurs on the wing, but they're not short of options either way.
For sure. What do you reckon, Hammy?
Yeah, well, I just think Australian winger, Origin winger. One of the great sights for me in rugby league is just Selwyn just tearing away down that wing. So from a selfish, neutral perspective, I want to keep seeing that sort of thing. Also, a nut trucker of note, bringing the ball back. He's not going to do as much of that in the centres. That said, though, he will be a great centre for all those reasons you just sort of said. You can see him doing the little flicks out the back. He's got a big fend. And yeah, he does remind you of some of those guys who've done really well there in the past. So it'll work, but I just wonder, do the Broncos need him more on the sting, doing all those other things? Or is he going to be more value for them in the centres? I reckon you probably get more out of him on the wing. Point scoring machine, does all those little things, starts your sets well. I'd probably leave him on the wing, but he'll still go well either way.
He might even be a bit of a Hodjo, like a mix between Hodjo and like your Trell and GI. I can see that kind of happening. Do you agree?
It's interesting what you said there about like meters coming out of their own end. I think it's going to be interesting to see how you go without Herbie because fuck, he did so much work for you. Like you're going to have to ask someone to roll this.
Well, maybe Selwyn. They do ask Selwyn to do that.
They have to, don't they? Because Herbie, who would have 18 to 20 runs a game, Katoni Staggs, who's notorious for having his sort of 8 to 10 runs a game, and we sit here and we say, mate, get more involved. If Cobbo goes to centre and goes, cool, I'm at centre now, I'll have 10 runs a game instead of 20, who's going to pick up this load? Because Herbie's gone. They're missing out on 10 runs a game.
Yeah. It's, interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I've heard Corey Oates doing very well in pre-season, apparently.
Yeah, people have been writing off Oates like he's not even in the conversation. Do not write off Corey Oates. We're talking about an origin winger, and a few years ago he was out and out. Well, not out and out, but like if you said he was the best winger in the comp, you couldn't push back on that.
Yeah, and what did we just talk about? Meters out of our own end.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how sickening the depth is at this club?
No, that's crazy.
The Broncos outside backs, Corey Oates, Dean Mariner, Deloise Hoyter, Jesse Arthurs, Jordan Pereira, Katoni Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo.
Crazy.
Come on.
In such a good position right now. It's just now our biggest challenge is obviously around the halves when Renault retires.
I'm keen to see your next best, your second 13 come round one. If everyone's fit, we'll put it together and just see what that looks like because holy shit, it's a good team.
Yeah, bloody oath. Okay. That's the Broncos chat done and dusted. Waqa Blake signed a 1-year deal with St Helens. I'm happy for the bloke. There were games and periods of the year where you're sitting there going, mate, genuinely could be one of the best outside backs in the comp. Just didn't seem to work for him. The good thing about the Super League for him is it's very attack-based, and that's his bread and butter. So, yeah, happy for him.
If Waqa Blake isn't a Man of Steel centre next year, I'll fucking give it away. He's got it written all over him.
All over him. Bradman Best reported has agreed to a 3-year extension with the Knights. The reported figure is $700K a season. The extension in the figure just reports, though, nothing confirmed. And remember, guys, $700K in today's cap is about $550 to $600K, which is a bloody good get, in my opinion, for what Bradman Best can be. What is really interesting, though, is how quickly things can change. It was mid-year where he was gone, and whispers that it was the Knights trying to get rid of him. Now, all of a sudden, he's about to sign a 3-year extension. If he keeps going the way that he has been going, $700K is a steal, in my opinion.
And if I'm Bradman Best, is he standing in potentially the best real estate of all time, outside KP, on the left edge for Newcastle?
Stop it.
Thanks for coming.
That big body just ready and raring to bump blokes.
That's especially coming off doing it in Origin 3 last year, being one of the best on the field. And we mentioned at the back end of last year when the Knights were on this big run and they just seem like such a happy club. Any team that's winning is a happy team and a happy club, but they seem to be building, I don't want to say building a good culture because they've always had a great culture, the Knights, but the playing group seem to love each other. And Bradman Best seems to be at the forefront of this. Every time they're having fun on social media or whatever it is, Bradman Best is all about it. So I said $700K, what he's just done in Origin, the back end of last year, if they can get him for that, sweet.
And what is he, 21 years old?
Yeah.
22?
I mean, as I said, I was just talking about the bloke inside him, KP, the bloke outside him, Marju. My God.
Like, imagine rolling on the NRL field, you look up, and there's Marju and Best with each other, and then KP Wax coming out the back, fresh as anything.
Sounds like Tyson Frizzell could end up on that edge too. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It'd be unreal.
Like, that is genuinely, that can challenge the best edges in the comp. Like, are they the best? Is it the best edge in the comp? No, because they don't have the runs on the board. If they play as well as we all know they can, they absolutely can challenge the best edges in the competition. So, yeah, if they get him for $700K, maybe the reason that $700K figure is because of his injury history that clubs are a bit hesitant to go all in on Bradman Best.
Which is fair.
Yeah. But if they get him for that, it's a win for him, but also it's a bloody massive win for the club.
Yeah.
Got KP locked down, got a guy like Bradman Best locked down. Things are looking good at the Knights. Things are looking good, but I think the biggest pressure point for the Knights, and we'll get into it, season preview, is actually, I think, in my pick, the halves. Can they do that again? Can they do what they did last year again? They overachieved last year. Now that's the standard. It's tough to follow.
Can always move Ponga to 5'8" if they need.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Terrell May has announced recently on the Bloke podcast that he would love to sign to a club that will sign all three of his brothers. He said his preference would be Roosters. All three brothers situation was not possible. He'd like to stay at the Roosters. Tell you what, if I'm a struggling club that's got a bit of cash, I'm sure there are clubs out there that are inquiring into those three blokes' services.
You'd have rocks in your heads not to be inquiring.
And look, obviously the older brother is a bit older. He's been in the Super League, but what you get, and you know, I think he'd be a decent depth signing if you signed him. But what you get with Taylor May and Terrell May, potentially unders because they're all together.
Yeah, I think in order to get the two younger ones,
do you cop that third, like that roster spot, and have good depth for that?
He could have one leg and be worth getting if you get these two. Like Terrell May, what he did at the end of last season was unbelievable. They got to finals, and the Roosters have a couple of international front rowers, and he was the guy. Yeah. He was the guy they were relying on. And Taylor May, I think people are forgetting just how good he is because they haven't seen him in a year or so, and Taruva's come in and done a great job. But he's a freak.
Yeah. Absolute freak. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I haven't followed Tyrone May's progress sort of since he's been there. He's obviously been over to the Super League. Catalans, was he?
Yep.
Catalans.
And they did make a grand final.
Yep. Yeah.
Him and Pearce.
What I do remember, very versatile. Like, can play a ton of different positions. So, if you're paying up for Terrell May, Taylor May, you're getting, you mentioned can be a depth signing, not just a depth signing, but a bloke who can cover a lot of positions. So, hey, if someone's got the bank and want to do it, why not?
Man, as a Roosters, you must sit there going, please, no one do this to us.
The three-brother discount.
Oh, please, no one do this to us. Billy Walters admits there's some pressure on him to hold his hooking position for the season. He said, I know I can't string one or two bad games together or I will be finding myself out of the team. That's because young Mozer is a gun. I think he captained under 19 Queensland side, highly touted. It's exciting for the Broncos that they have in such a key position such a good young player. All they need to do is, all they need to do, it's a small thing. Lockdown Mam, lockdown Walsh. But also, it's just they need to begin planning to life after Reynolds immediately.
Yeah, some interesting decisions coming from Brisbane. I like this by Billy, though, and I think it is the reality of his situation, which is a credit to the Broncos.
It'll be frustrating for him, though, because, we made a grand final, bro. We made a grand final, but it is the reality.
Frustrating, but it'll probably get the best out of him.
Yeah. Could you imagine, though? You took a team to a grand final, then you got to start worrying about a guy that's never played NRL.
Yeah,
you'd be like,
filthy. Yeah.
God damn it.
I thought he was the lead at the end of last year, Billy Walters.
Yeah.
Played a really good back half of the year, and he's as the coach, so he's not getting dropped anytime soon, is he? Surely not. Surely not.
Are you talking about nepotism at our club, mate?
Well, yeah.
How dare you, sir?
Do I need to draw you a diagram? He could have 3 or 4 bad games. It would be sweet.
3 or 4, you reckon?
Yeah.
What about 5?
Now then they'll have another look at it. But he won't have 3 or 4 bad games. He finished so well last year. I thought, another one that the Tigers let go, obviously. But I thought he was outstanding last year. So they got some good depth there. But
I think of all the hookers there, he's the safest one.
Yeah.
I think you'll find Mozer. I can't say Mozer. What's wrong? Mozer. I think you'll find him at 14. Relatively early, maybe even round 1.
You reckon round 1 is
maybe because he's just so highly touted and he's so highly sought after that you've got to keep guys like that happy. And I know that's bad to say because it's this young guy is going to hold this club hostage, and maybe he's not like that, but it's there's so much more to selections than for example, look what happened with Reece Walsh initially. We could have kept him, but if we had just given him his debut, gave him a bit of a crack, and then back in reserve grade maybe or whatever, he stays at the club. But we didn't keep him happy. He leaves. Now, Fortune brought him back to us, and, he knows that was his home and all along, and he should sign for massive unders and stay for a 10-year deal. Whereas you've got a guy like Mozer, let's say he goes to reserve grade and he's killing it. But Walters is also killing it. Let's say he's killing it. People get in his ear, say you could get this big contract, we're willing to sign you for 500, 600, 700K. All of a sudden, he's going, well, A, I'm not getting paid much. B, I'm not even playing NRL. Whereas if you've got him at 14, I'm not saying this will be the decision, but these are the things you've got to weigh up. Keeping guys like Mozer happy. Jesus.
It was Corey Pakes they started with last year and then they moved to Smoothie, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then Smoothie come in. Yeah. So it'll be Smoothie, Pakes. I think, is Pakes still there?
Yeah, he's still in the squad.
Smoothie, Pakes, and Mozer. If Mozer has really good trials, I think he might jag that 14 role. I mean, Smoothie could jag it too. Smoothie's still relatively young. Like, he's not that.
I can't believe we're talking about 4 like starting NRL quality 9s. You're like, take your pick.
It's good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, the Raiders could. Well,
Hey, we've got heaps of hookers to choose from.
yeah.
You've actually got 4 out-and-out hookers in your top 30. It's unbelievable.
mental.
It's wild.
It's funny and
I
like
seemingly don't like any of them.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
none are good enough.
this is a paid advertisement from BetterHelp, our show partner this week. It's the start of a new year and we all have our own resolutions. Some of us want to get fit, some want to learn a new skill, some of us want to watch more footy. But there's a lot of us that probably just want to improve our mental health. If you're thinking of getting a hand with your mental game, get in touch with BetterHelp. Their services are entirely online and designed to work around you and your schedule. We all need a little guidance from time to time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bloke. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/bloke. You get 10% off. Test squad has been named. Steve Smith, he will open the batting. Cam Green is back in the team and will bat at 4. Matthew Renshaw has made the squad but not the team. Cam Bancroft and Marcus Harris have missed out. Squad: Cummins, Boland, Carey, Green, Hazelwood, Head, Kawaja, Labashane, Lyon, Marsh, Renshaw, Smith and Stark. I'll go to you first, Hammy. Thoughts on the squad selection with Smith as the opening batsman?
I like Smith opening the batting. Being a little bit stagnant at 4, needs a new challenge. I think he'll go well up there. And I think a great opportunity to test if it'll work is a home series against the West Indies. You know, they're not as... It's not a big series, really. We're going to walk these ones in. You'd imagine 2-0 for us. So I think it's a really good opportunity for him to get in there. He's been struggling a little bit against the short ball, Kempy, as you will know.
Absolutely.
And what do the opening bowlers generally do, Kempy?
Take a step forward.
That's right. They pitch it up. They pitch it up to give it a chance to swing. And Steve Smith annihilates the full ball. So I reckon he's going to go quite well. Don't forget as well, when Usman Khawaja came back into the side, he was older than Smith is now, and he started at 5 and then they moved him up to open. So it can happen. You can do it. He's good enough to do it. I think it's very harsh on Cam Bancroft. He's had a couple of great years in the Shield setup, averaging 50 opening the batting. But I think for the balance of the side, you just got to ask yourself, how does this side look more dangerous? Does it look more dangerous with Smith and Green in it? Or does it look more dangerous with Bancroft and Smith in it? I think it's with Smith and Green. So that's what I reckon.
Yeah, I'm not as hot on it as Hammy is.
Fuck, do you like anything today?
Yeah, I know. I didn't choose the topics.
Jeez,
and look, I
Louise,
promise nothing's gone wrong over
You
Christmas
turn
New
into
Year.
like a Skip Bayless of the bloke
Yeah,
podcast.
no. I'm just getting all the
You
cynical.
do look a bit
negative-
like Skip Bayless, just
Oh
quietly.
no, another one.
Hey, the Skip.
I'm getting the cynical, negative vibes out of the way early on in the year, so that when the season starts, it'll just be everything positive. A few reasons for it as well. I just think it's a bit of a stopgap solution to this opening issue that, well, it might not be an issue. I think, as Hammy alluded to, it's a great opportunity to test it because we've got the West Indies who, in theory, should be toweling up in both tests. I think there's every chance that Steve Smith comes out and gets runs in these 2 games. But what does that achieve? In the short term, not a lot. I think why I say that is because he's batted sort of 4 his entire career with a lot of success. He's struggled the last sort of 12 to 18 months by his standards. There's hardly been a player in their career, batsman in particular, that has gotten better with age. So when they get to those mid-30s, the eyes start to go, the timing starts to go, and he's going to the top of the order where he's going to face a swinging ball, a moving ball. Everything gets harder. Players in the back end of their career often go further down the order. They might bat at 5 or bat at 6. They get an older ball. It becomes a little bit easier to play in. As I said, he'll be fine in this series, probably gets runs, but I'm looking ahead to, England in a couple of years, England Ashes next year. When we go to New Zealand, where there's going to be a moving ball again, how is Steve Smith going to go at 35 years old? He'll be fine, I think.
Isn't Kawaja...
Khawaja has also opened the batting a lot throughout his career at different levels, ODIs, T20s. So at test level, he was fine. He's done it at Shield. Smith, to my knowledge, Hammy, has never opened the batting.
He's opened it to be in T20 cricket.
T20, you can have that.
Yeah, I
Went
think
well
it
from the other night as well, didn't it? First
No,
ball.
that was not. That's an outlier. That one. But I think it will work because you just point out, Kempy, Usman moved from the middle order to the top of the order. 1,200 Test runs last year. Most runs of anyone in world cricket. Mr. Cricket strikes
I
again.
mean, that was screaming out to everyone that knows cricket.
Yeah. So I think that.
But
I think
Uzi's open before.
yeah, I just think this guy's been the best batter in the world for a while. This can work, and it's a perfect strategy now to give him a go because West Indies is probably down here, this sort of level. Then he goes away to New Zealand. We're stepping up the gears a little bit. It's a bit similar to England, but they're not as good. Then next season we have India at home. Then you got another Ashes series, and then you got India. So if you can get 3 years out of Smith opening the batting and making that work, and keeping Green in there at 4, I think this could. I am optimistic that this will be a good thing.
Put it this way, be judging it on the New Zealand series, not the West Indian series.
I think so. The purpose of these two games is to get Green firing at number 4, hopefully. He averages 60 batting at 4 in the Sheffield Shield, so hasn't been given a go at number 4 in the Test setup yet.
If Smith gets 4 innings across the 2 games and goes no good, do you pop the idea ahead of New Zealand straight away?
I don't know if you throw it out straight away, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Bancroft back in the squad for New Zealand. That'd be my thinking.
What about Harris, Marcus Harris?
Bancroft was my man. I'd have had him first. I think Harris has had a lot of opportunities, and there's been a bit of debate recently. He's been carrying the drinks a lot, they say, for the Aussies, just in the extended squad, going around the world, and it's limited his opportunity to play Shield cricket and get runs and get time at the crease. That being said, I think sheer weight of runs last couple of seasons, Bancroft was the man.
How old's Bancroft?
31.
Is it, if you're talking about the future, is there anyone younger that instead of going Bancroft, you go a soup? Because we've got an ageing batting order, correct?
Yep.
Do you go even younger than that and get a younger guy in to tour with the team? Because Bancroft's had his opportunities too, correct, and hasn't set the world alight. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone younger than those two that you go, let's get him in now?
Well, Renshaw's in there. He's 27, so he's an option. The other one is Pekovsky, who's 24, 25, but has had a few concussions and a few other issues as well. But he played a game against India, made 60, looked really good. There's a couple of guys floating around, but I wonder whether that might have been what gave Renshaw the nod there in the squad, get him around there. He's played Test cricket before.
Because the thing is with Bancroft, that is, I just look, this is outside looking in, but let's say Steve Smith is the guy, and he does well for 2 years. Then you'd be bringing, if Bancroft was the next guy in, you're bringing in a 34-year-old or a 33-year-old. You know what I mean? You're basically in the same position you were in, but it was Steve Smith. He's a GOAT compared to Bancroft's obviously not one of the greatest batsmen of all time. So it's not like for like, and you're basically got an aging batting order.
Yeah. And to answer your question, no, there's no one younger banging the door down that's scoring a lot of runs at Shield cricket that's saying, pick me, take a gamble on me, get experience into me.
Yep.
That player is Cameron Green,
Yeah.
who they've made a spot for him at number 4.
And he's done well in Test cricket.
Yeah. So he's got a massive future. He'll be there for the next 10 years in whatever the role might be.
Could he open or no?
I wouldn't do that to him.
No, I mean, not right now, but could he eventually be an opener or no?
I think he'll prefer to be at 4 and maybe give a few overs with the ball too. I think he's also captain material later.
So they're basically investing in Cam Green and his future in the side by putting Smith up. So that's why it sort of happened.
Is the fact that Cam Green is an all-rounder, do you think that had something to do with it as well?
That helps.
Because if you go Bancroft and you have Steve Smith at 4, then you have no all-rounder in your... Well, not no, but...
Well, they've got Mitch Marsh, who plays a very similar role to Cam Green, and that's why they've only gone with Marsh for the series just being against Pakistan.
Is 2 all-rounders better than 1?
Gives you some more options, I suppose. I wouldn't be surprised to see Green do less bowling from now on. I reckon he's going to put a bit more time into the bat. Like Smithy, when Smith came in as a leggy, batting 8 or 9, he just goes, nah, not going to bowl as much, going to drop it off and just focus on the batting, be the best batter in the team. I reckon that's the way Green will go.
And Green's had a lot of success batting at number 4 at Shield level. So it's like no issues with Green at all.
Is he the Steve Smith replacement, do you think, then, long term?
I think they want him to be.
At 4, probably.
Yeah.
We hope.
Smith upgrades. Okay. In regards to the bowling order, we got probably the best bowling in the country, in the world, correct?
Yep.
The depth is a lot like the Brisbane Broncos as well.
Yep.
Lots of options.
Very similar. We win, they win, even though we're not in the final, but whatever. Boland where's this being played?
This is being played at Adelaide.
Is it surprising Boland's back in the side or not surprising?
I think he's just kind of like next guy up. I don't think he'll play. These guys are towards the end of their Test career. They love Test cricket.
Yep.
Prove that. Stark didn't play IPL for 8 years, so he could just focus on Test cricket. They just want to play as many Tests as they can. Probably work towards winning another Test championship. That's when you might see some mass retirements. I don't think Boland will play either of these Tests. I think they're just going to, unless there's an injury.
Another question. Marnus, notorious defensive batsman. Is that correct?
More so than most.
More so than most. Is an opportunity for him to step up and maybe be a bit more aggressive and Steve Smith be a bit more defensive? Is that ridiculous?
You play your natural game.
Okay.
And Marnus's natural game is to,
Wasn't he hitting fucking centuries after centuries a couple of years ago?
He was.
He's the best batsman in the world, wasn't he, rated? And he's had a bit of a quiet patch.
He has had a quiet patch, yep. Good opportunity to get himself back in a bit of form, I would have thought, against the West Indies at home.
What do you think he needs to do, Marnus?
Nothing in particular. He doesn't need to change his game. He doesn't need to get more aggressive. He's got an incredible opportunity. We already had it with Pakistan, but the West Indies series, as I said, it should be pretty easy. So, mate, spend time at the crease.
So no concern for Marnus at the moment?
No concern. No.
You'll be all right.
Because I've been reading comments.
Yeah.
And
Are you concerned?
Don't,
well, I was, but now I'm not. Because
Yep.
I trust in you guys. Not for your tips, terrible.
Yep.
But I trust in your
Smithy and
knowledge.
Marnus, they'll save it when we need it. And this summer against Pakistan and West Indies,
Okay.
I don't care.
So is Marnus' job, I know this is going to sound like a stupid question, obviously it is to score runs, but is his job more to be a defensive partner to whoever is the other opener?
Every player has their own style. Travis Head is naturally very aggressive. That's where he's most comfortable. That's where he's made his runs. Marnus Labuschagne can't just come out and play more aggressively just to change things up and try something new. It's just not the way it works. Like it'll take some players more time to get their eye in at the crease. They might take 10 overs. They might take 15. Other players can go out there within 2 overs like, nah, I'm switched on. Let's go. Let's get aggressive. Like everyone's
So
different.
next question then, is Warner was an aggressive opener?
Yep.
Is Steve Smith an aggressive batsman? Because the balance of Warner aggressive, Marnus kind of defensive, is that going to be like for like, or is it going to be quite a different partnership in that sense?
No, he's definitely not as aggressive as Dave Warner. That's a good point. He can score quickly though, Smith. And I think, with the ball in his half, he loves the ball pitched up. So I reckon he'll score a bit more quickly than he has. He's been getting bogged down quite a lot lately. That's probably been an issue for him. I think there'll be a bit more freedom up there for him, for sure.
Because if Steve Smith comes in and he's not as aggressive as Warner, would that not be better for bowlers to build confidence initially? Or no?
Yeah, drying the scoring up.
Yeah.
Yep. It would be, but I don't think it'll completely dry up with Smith up there. We just won't be probably as explosive as.
Other question. Bowling, we're killing it.
Yep.
Batting for us, is this a concern that we're still really unsure as to what our order should be, all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, the bowling is, as you're quite right there. Interesting what would happen, I mean, touch wood, if there's a few injuries to the bowlers. I don't know, not a lot of other guys have come in and played a lot lately.
It wasn't, despite being we've got 3 pretty convincing wins, give or take. Boxing Day, which wasn't as tight against Pakistan, was tight, I should say. There's no batsman going through terrible slumps in form as such. They've all had a few runs here and there. There's no major concerns over it. Obviously, Warner retiring this opening spot is the hot topic at the moment. Cam Green comes back in, but they've all had enough runs between them over the last 12, 18 months that there's no panic stations yet. Even Alex Carey coming into this summer, he was probably one with a bit more question marks around with the bat, not with the gloves, but he had a few runs, so we're all right.
Is it concerned that we've got an ageing batting order? Would that hurt us in a few years? Could we look in a few years going, we didn't rotate quick enough, we didn't give people enough experience early enough?
Yeah, look, that's actually a pretty good point, and probably a pretty good point through the whole team. But I think that getting guys like Green in there gives you an opportunity to kind of prepare and stagger it a little bit. So I think that's why they're real keen to get him in there, because he's 23, 24. So they're looking to mitigate against that, I think, for sure.
Okay. Like that, it'd be almost poetic to pass the captaincy on from Paddy Blue Eyes to a guy with the name Green in his name.
Wouldn't it?
That's poetic. And green is also the colour of our nation.
Baggy green.
So we go even better.
Exactly.
But blue is the colour of our flag.
That's right. So there's just synergies everywhere you look, isn't there?
Everywhere you look. So lock her in. What's Cam Green paying to be captain in 10 years? Is that marked
We
up
haven't
yet?
got a market yet. Leave it with me though.
That's disappointing.
You got your best man on it.
Kempy, we've actually put the great minds together, and I don't mean my own, but new podcast at SC Playbook.
Oh, stop it.
The Cricketer's Playbook, expanding outside the Supercoach space. Hammy over here on deck. I'm just a
Wow.
humble host. Got another genius cricketing mind in Maxi Bryden on board as well, talking
Okay.
straight cricket.
I thought you were about to say me then, but genius
Nah.
cricketing mind, but whatever.
Mate, we got a spot available, guest appearance, cameo.
I don't know if you can afford me. mate.
Appearance fee, I was going to say.
Yeah. So if you want to hear more of the big fella's great insights and Maxi Bryden, absolute genius of the game, Cricketer's Playbook.
If you love cricket, look, obviously you come to me first, but if you want to go to the boys,
If you want more,
well, I wouldn't say more.
sorry, additional
content to my great insight, then maybe ask by the boys. Ask by the boys.
Get around us.
All right, time now
Hey,
for...
I
Well-
was really quickly wanted to touch on and get a sense check on David Warner's helicopter trip to the Big Bash the other day. I know you touched on it on Pack Her Up, boys. There was an evolution. When you guys spoke about the story, he was going to land on the SFS.
Yeah.
It evolved, and he landed on the SCG on the ground. I mean, what did you blokes see? Because all I did was I compared it to what happens here at Bloke. And when Kempy gets his chopper in here for the episode, he doesn't fly it straight into the studio. He has the decency to fly it into the helipad, out in the car park, and then walk in. So it doesn't make it as me. I just wonder if little Davey Warner could learn a thing or two about the humility of Kempy, which is why we love him so much, and what you guys thought of the helicopter landing on the field.
Yeah, I'd love to know how they came to the decision. Was it the marketing team? And then Warner was like, okay, I'll go along with it. Now, reports would suggest Warner does like a bit of online attention. Is that semi-accurate?
Yeah.
I thought it would be a real good opportunity for him to see that, like, with everything that had happened throughout the week, to be like, okay, it's been about me for quite a while now. Maybe
15 years.
maybe it doesn't have to be about me for this specific moment. That's just a potential reality we could have lived in, but we don't live in that reality. That's my answer.
Campy's just furious because he used his chopper for the day, so Campy didn't have access.
Mate, I couldn't get anywhere. Guru?
Yeah, Warner does not come across to me as one that would turn down a helicopter arrival, so it doesn't shock me. Just quickly, if MOSH is looking for a bounce back next week, from calling it the MCQ a year ago to how you just navigated that segment, I just sat here in awe then. That was fucking incredible. Have you got someone in your ear or what?
Mate, there's a reason why bloke's this big, mate.
Very impressive.
To be fair, it was a misspeak. I know what the MC fucking G is. Misspeak. Anyway, thanks. I
It's all
appreciate
part of the
that,
narrative.
mate.
I think you take it on board.
I appreciate that,
Origin
mate.
2's at the queue this year, actually.
Is it a queue?
Yeah.
Might get some shirts, mate. Actually, that's not good. If it's at the queue, that leans towards Queensland getting the win. With a big queue.
That's good.
So,
It's unlike Origin.
fuck off, you sooks. Thanks, Guru. I appreciate that, mate. Let's get into our our face of music for the next week.
Let's do it. So this is a bloke exclusive. I've had a chat to the traders because when you have a look at the market for this game, Australia versus the West Indies, there is not a lot of value in the head-to-head betting. I think we all agree that Australia will do a number pretty significantly on the West Indies.
Not all of us, mate.
Yeah?
Not all of us. I meant.
Well, you think West Indies is going to
No,
win?
I meant the wider public. I'm sure there's someone out there that thinks West Indies is going to win.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that. Australia winks like $1.07. West Indies are $18. So I said, look, there's not a lot of value there, so there's no point even picking that one. So I've had a chat to the traders. First time we've ever done this at Sportsbet.
Oh, thank you.
What day will the game last until? So, you can either choose day 2, 3, 4, 5, or the draw, of course. I'm going to give myself the new ball here, if you don't mind. This one, I am going for the first 2 days of this test match.
Yeah.
I've been on leave for 3.5 weeks. My first day back today.
Yeah.
I'm counting. I was going to say counting the sleeps. I'm actually counting the sleep before I go on more leave. I'm going for 2 days to the test match. So bear with me. I actually think this game will be finished by the time I have to leave on day 2.
Wow.
We just saw a 2-day test match over in South Africa. I think this game will finish on day 2, and day 2 will get you $41
Wow.
for this test match to be done
Holy.
and dusted by. The other prices, day 3 will get you $3.40, day 4 $2.20, day 5 $2.30. So those are your prices there. What day do you think this game will finish, Mr. Cricket?
It's going to finish day 3, 2:54 p.m.
Oh wow, $3.40 there for Mr. Cricket Guru. What do you think, mate? In
If they
Adelaide?
win the toss and bat, $41 would have to come in rapidly, wouldn't it?
The West Indies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to think so.
I don't mind the value there if they do win the toss. I think day 3, but I think the value's day 2 for sure.
Yep. Which one are you going to lock in?
Oh, fuck it, I'll join you. Day 2.
Get on board.
We've got to do times because we don't want draws.
Oh, of course. So if you're going, so day 2, what time do you think?
What'd you do?
I did 2:54 p.m. day 3.
3:20 p.m. day 2.
3:20 p.m. That'd work perfectly for my 6 p.m. flight there. I reckon it'll go probably a little bit long. I'm going to say 6 p.m.
Okay.
Day 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I think the value's in day 3. I'm with Kempy actually, and like the odds suggest, it's going to finish at 3:40 p.m.
Okay.
I think it'll be a short test, but that South African test was absurd. I don't think we'll see anything like that. I reckon we'll go to day 3. I reckon we'll finish in the middle session. So is this a day nighter?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Take that back. I reckon we'll finish in the last session, so I'm going to say 4:48.
Okay.
Hammy, Adelaide Oval, being probably the flattest deck in Australia this Big Bash season, does that concern you with your 2-day finish?
No, I don't. I think the disparity between these teams, our bowling attack, their batting lineup, I think it could be over very.
Could be a massacre.
I think so.
Okay.
I do. Other one, boys, we've got the tennis, of course, kicking off this week. It's already got underway. I just want to get, just for your futures, just your male winner and your female winner for the Australian Open for this year as well. That'll be it for Face the Music this week. So, Mr. Tennis, do you want to take us away with your pick?
Now, I've been watching this bloke for a few years now.
Yep.
Grigor Dimitrov.
Yep.
Shoe in.
Yep.
Absolute.
What do you
shoe-in
like
to
about
win.
him?
His aggressive nature at the net.
Yep. The net monster, they call him.
They do call him that.
Yep.
I like his aggressive nature at the net. I think he's got a great forehand. Backhand, look, some people don't rate it that well, but I think that they don't understand the mechanics of the backhand as well as I do.
Yep.
Backhand, fantastic. Footwork, incredible. Apparently one of the fastest in the Oz Open. That's the reports. So that's what I'm loving about him.
Love it. So $26, Grigor Dimitrov. The tennis guru, what do you got for us?
I know very little about tennis, so what I did was I went through all the names waiting for one to stand out to me. I'll be honest with you, nothing grabbed me in the men's. Something grabbed me in the women's. I can't wait to get to her. But men's, nothing grabbed me, so I thought I'm just going to pick the most rugby league name I can see.
Yep, like it.
So I've got a 500 to 1 Jordan Thompson.
Yeah, nice. Edge back rower.
Yeah, do a job.
Just beat Nadal.
Did he?
Yeah.
Sure.
Really?
Up in Brisbane.
There you go.
There you go.
I thought he might have been a fictional character, so that's good to hear.
You sound like you know your tennis, Timmy. Who you got?
I mean, in comparison to this panel, I mean, Kemp your side, obviously. A little bits and pieces, mate. I'm actually heading to the Oz Open this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, so you'll be at the cricket, I'll be at the tennis, so good weekend to
We've got all the bases covered here at Bloke.
Yeah. Carlos Alcaraz, mate.
Yep.
Couple of slams to his name already. Future of the sport. Second fave behind Novak, so I'll be going with him. In the women's, Sabalenka won it last year. In good touch. She'll go back to back.
Oh, yeah, I'll do my women's real quick.
Yeah, go on.
Love the way this lady plays tennis. Been watching her for a few years.
Yep.
Emma Raducanu.
Oh, yeah, won Wimbledon.
Yeah, mate. Unbelievable tennis player.
Yep.
I think she's primed. I think really this year she's put her head down. She's worked on a few things in her game. Looks explosive. Muscle mass. I think she's actually increased her muscle mass this year, which is, she had some real issues with power in her backhand, and I think it's going to sort it out this year. So
550. Elena Rybakina.
No,
First of all-
Emma Raducanu.
Oh, Emma Raducanu.
Yeah.
You jumping in?
Yeah, I'll go first.
$71, Emma Raducanu. Bit of value.
Well, I think that's massive overs. That's what I'm taking.
Yep.
Smile, Matty.
I'll go Sabalenka for the women's. I think I've filled up my quota on this show of not backing Australians, so I'm just going to go Alex de Minaur. I actually met him once. He's a huge New South Wales Blues fan, so
That's something a spy would say.
Yeah, it is. It is $34 for the Demon.
Poor old Matty's about to have a stroke worrying about the camera angles while he has to run between his desk and the mic.
My female one, boys, I said I was waiting for a name to stand out for me, and good God. Where's the Oz Open at?
Melbourne.
500 to 1, give me Storm Hunter.
Ooh, that's omen all over it.
Yep.
That's great omen
I
betting.
think she might be number one doubles player in the world, Storm.
Really great names.
Sounds about right.
She goes good anyway. Yeah.
I've gone Daniil Medvedev. Not everyone's cup of tea. on the men's side of the draw. The big Russian, $10. I'm looking at there. And then in the women's side, now, I couldn't walk past this price for Barbara Krejcikova, $67. Now, I actually priced up the women's side of the draw myself, and I had it at about $51. So $67 for Barbara. I'm all aboard there, responsibly, of course. So that's it. Let's see how those go over the next few weeks. Going to be a fascinating. I know you won't be able to keep your eyes off it, Kempy. A fascinating couple of weeks of tennis down there at Melbourne Park. But sport everywhere you look at the moment, isn't it?
Mr. Sport.
Yeah, just getting us through till rugby league season.
By the way, have you ever seen a guy that goes on more holidays?
Then this bloke?
Yeah,
Or
no,
this
this
bloke?
bloke. Oh, both of them. It's a pretty hot field, but
Mate, you going on another holiday?
I'm a man of the world, mate. I like to get out and about.
Jesus, where are you going?
Melbourne, tennis.
Oh my God. Where are you getting all this cash? I can't afford a holiday. I'm bloody struggling.
That's a tax deduction. Research for the show.
Oh, definitely a tax deduction.
like a coffee off you.
SC
occasionally,
Playbook's
that'd be
actually
unreal.
looking to expand into fantasy tennis, so tax deduction.
There you go. There you go. Simple game, eh?
Wow, the holidays on this bloke.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a holiday was till I was 25 years old.
Yeah. Made a different stuff, Kempy.
Mate,
It's
I
an
used to-
inspiration to all of us.
I used to walk through snow 10Ks a day to come to work, mate. You know those blokes that try to tough working each other? Where they're like, mate, work so hard, bloody. Then you go to the work site, they're doing absolutely nothing. Anyway.
I'm the second one there, I think. Sitting around doing nothing.
Anyway, you working hard or you hardly working? That's us done and dusted. Do you want to get the grid out, the NRL grid, or has that died down? That's gone now? It's not cool anymore?
I think we're done here.
Origin teams, no?
Beers and Break Evens returning this week.
Oh, there we go. Beers and break evens are back. Anyway, guys, have a fantastic week. We will go fuck ourselves and you go fuck yourself too. I don't know why I said that.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.